In a world where I couldn't figure out a good intro to start this off, but all you need to know is that this shit is going to start. I didn't script this. I'm terrible at this. Anywho,
Play the intro. Play the intro.
All right then. The episode 2 of the GremCast is live. I'm gonna kill the music. I tried to come up with a cool intro. I had this all rehearsed, and then as soon as I started, I froze up. Okay. Many of you who have seen our stream before know it was under a different name. Well, I changed it because there was a hashtag going around named Gamergate that was here before our stream was, and I felt like I wanted to be a unique snowflake.
You can't just, deal with it
Nah,
like everyone else.
I just felt the need to be unique and have our own name, and not feel like we stole from others because we are terrible shields. So, let's get things started. First of all, we have all 4 of us are here today. Y'all may know me as Grass Gremlin. I'm gonna go ahead and give all the names. I suck at intros. Kota.
Hey,
Kota, how are you doing today?
Grem.
Yes.
I think you have a technical issue with the stream because it's not going anywhere.
It's not.
The
online?
bar's not moving.
It's not online.
No.
It is.
No.
It is for me. It's working fine for me.
It's not for me. Oh well. If it's not working for me, it doesn't matter. Oh, now it's working. I had to refresh it again. Don't worry. I'm sorry.
How dare you ruin my terrible intro with your words?
Well, my week has been good. It's been fine, and I've been playing quite a bit of Terraria and Diablo 3. I started a seasonal character that's the Diablo ladder equivalent for 3. And I'm playing a witch doctor. It's up to level 65. The ladder started yesterday. That's why I am 5 levels away from max level in one day.
Is that it?
That's not easy.
That's all you got for us, Kota? Come on.
Well, not much really went on for my day.
You can't be this boring. No, I'm joking.
Well, I can be. I can be even more boring by just saying I played games. There's your week. Now get the fuck out of my lawn.
QQ, what's been going on?
I haven't been gaming nearly as much as I would like to. I did some NetHack, which is an old classic. Which is nice because it is a game that is on every device that I've ever owned, basically, that lets you install its own software on it. I slaughtered all of Minetown and thought I was unstoppable because I managed to kill off every single one of the guards who tried to stop me. And basically, if you kill a store owner in that game, it tries to punish you. It punishes you hard. It sends all these units after you, and all the store owners are way overpowered. So I managed to slaughter I was a barbarian, so it was actually in character. I managed to slaughter every single one of the store owners. Everyone who came after me for doing that got all the loot from all the stores, was way overpowered, went to the floors below Minetown, and because I was a freaking barbarian, I stumbled around into every single trap and died.
Overpowered store owners, no problem.
Yes.
Simple trap. Fall in the hole. You die.
Yes, that was pretty much it. Other than that, I actually picked up, what is it, the Rare Collection? Rare Replay, I think it's called? Replay. I haven't played it yet because I busted out my N64 to see what, it used to be like. And I never actually booted up Replay because I was playing the N64 instead.
I don't own
It's funny how that works.
I don't own a
Is it
Microsoft
only for
console. I
PS
feel
Plus?
left out.
What console is that game
Mhm.
for? That you
Uh,
play? Is
It's
it
only for the
the
one.
Xbox One?
it's for the
Yeah,
Xbox
Damn,
One. Yeah, I don't own a
yeah.
Microsoft
It's
I don't
console.
have.
I feel left out.
Microsoft basically took all of Rare's titles that were good and put them together on a disc, except for the ones that Nintendo owns. Like, there's no Donkey Kong 64, of course, or Donkey Kong
Well,
Country. But they put them all on the disc. It includes Conker's Bad Fur Day, which was probably the reason that main reason that I picked it up. I'm hoping that it's the original and not Live and Reloaded, because
what's wrong with Live and Reload?
the original was better. Oddly enough, it's
I
less
haven't really
censored.
played the remake. Oh,
uh,
wait, what? They
so
censored the newer one more?
Yes, it's hilarious because remember Nintendo back in the N64 days was all about trying to
Family
still
friendly.
keep the clean image, and even Duke Nukem 64, they removed the bar in it because you weren't allowed to have drinking in Nintendo games back then. Well, then
Oh
Conker's
no.
Bad Fur Day comes out, and
And
the first
shit's
scene
all
is
over that.
yes, the first scene is literally
In a bar.
Conker's in a bar getting like completely hammered and
Oh God, I got so much. Oh
Yeah, I
God,
remember.
that is.
I played the.
Everyone says that Big Mighty Pooh is their favorite part. My favorite part is watching Conker and Birdie try to explain Conker the controls while they're both drunk. That is my favorite part in that game. Oh God, it is the most hilarious part to me. It's still the funniest part to me in that game because it's weirdly realistic.
yeah, well, anyway, the funny thing is Microsoft comes out and they completely are not the family friendly image of with their Xbox, right? They were like, oh, we're serious gamers. Our launch title is Halo, which is a first person shooter, and it's our killer app and all that. And they actually, uh, when they ported uh, Conquer Live and Reloaded over, they bleeped out more of the dialogue than what was bleeped out on the N64.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Wow.
I mean, I've seen a playthrough the whole game like recently because I just felt bored enough. There's some curse words that still like unbleeped, but then they bleep out crap and uh things that aren't curse words. But there's like scenes where characters shit and like heavy sexual innuendo. It just seemed unnecessary.
Yeah, it was pretty arbitrary. They would actually bleep out a word in one circumstance and then not bleep it out in another. Uh, I don't know what the deal was with that, but it actually made for
Yeah.
almost a funny gag in and of itself because of how
Maybe
arbitrary it
they
was.
actually wanted that as a joke.
All
Oh,
right.
I actually did forget to mention something. I quit WoW. There.
Oh,
Yeah. I quit my subscription
We'll
to
get
WoW.
we'll get to you quitting WoW later. Uh, Q Star Professor.
What? What's up?
Professors are sub for this week because Lady isn't here today, so y'all had to deal with another new face.
The cute
Q
one.
Star, what has been up with you? Introduce yourself to the audience and shit. You know,
This
make them care about you.
I
Give them
am
some character
Professor
development.
Q. I want to be Professor Q.
Professor
I've been
Q.
playing. Yep. I want to play a lot of video games. Especially
I've been playing a lot of video games too. Kota, Kiki, have you ever been playing a lot of video games?
not as much as I would like.
A little more.
I've been playing some video games. Okay, go ahead, Q Star.
yeah, but I've been playing a lot of my time on the game called Mazinobi. Y'all played it before?
Imagine
Doesn't ring a
Yeah.
bell.
It's owned by Nexon.
Is that an MMO?
Oh, a Nexon game.
Yeah. And I just shown Mazinobi game. I'll be playing League of Legends, of course. I don't know if you guys have played League of Legends though. I'm playing the heck out of it.
Q-Star, you should
Yeah,
speak closer to your mic.
I had this problem where I got roped into Dota 2 over and over and over again, and it somewhat burned me out on MOBAs for a while. So I haven't even
MOBAs.
played League yet. I need someone who'll rope me into League over and over again so that I can cut
I
back
can
into that.
rope
My
you.
boyfriend's obsessed with League.
Oh,
I can
boy.
rope you into Heroes of the Storm instead if you want that.
I've heard that that's a lot less steep of a learning curve.
Yes, it is. In fact, instead of everyone being an individual level, it's a team level.
Oh, good. Yeah, you might be able to rope me into that.
Hooray! That means I actually have someone to play with my Anubarak.
All right. I guess that's I guess our intros out of the way. So I guess we can go on and talk about gaming news and stuff. It's been a interesting week, I guess, most of the part. Uh I'm gonna go ahead and go right to I don't know. You want to talk about Konami now, or y'all just want to get over the other stuff before we start ranting about Konami?
Let's start with the smaller things just to get them out of the way first.
Okay. Uh, let's see. Kote, you go ahead and do this. I'm gonna go run and get me some pizza rolls.
Okay, get your pizza rolls. Well, apparently, XCOM 2 is delayed till February 6th of next year. Originally had a,
XCOM.
yep, had a date for this year, but it's been pushed back to next year. Oh well, not that much.
I'm-
That sucks.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I tend to be of the opinion that it's better to release a game that's finished late than a game that isn't finished on time. So, as long as they're spending their time making the game into a good product, delaying it is the right choice in my view.
Yeah. Pretty much you're on the premise of the Nintendo versus the Sega mentality. Nintendo, finish the product well. Sega, get the fuck out on time.
Yeah,
Eh.
man,
What about you,
XCOM
Q?
though.
Not Q, Star.
Other Q.
Sorry. Star, what's your opinion on that?
Oh, XCOM.
XCOM
To be
being
honest
pushed
with
back
you,
till February.
to be honest with you, this is the first time I ever heard about this game.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah, I
Oh.
never heard of XCOM before.
I can go deep into the history. So I can do some personal anecdotes. When I was younger, there was this magazine. I forget what it was. It was one of the magazines about
Was
PC
it Edge
gaming.
Magazine?
No, it wasn't Edge magazine. But it came one issue of it. It came with a disc, and the disc was uh, old games. Basically, they were like, "Here's full copies of old games." Usually, it came with a demo disc, but this was a full copy. And we passed that disc around over and over again because the games were so old that they didn't have any copy protection. uh, and most of the
Okay.
games on it were too old. Like they didn't live. They were too dated. They didn't feel like very playable anymore. Like it had the original Alone in the Dark on it, which is a good game, but it feels dated because it controls completely different from how any game for the PC ever controls. And you actually had to boot into full DOS in order to play it. You couldn't just play it in a DOS shell. At the time, DOSBox didn't exist, or I didn't know about it. Anyway, there's one game on that disc that we could not put down, and that was the original XCOM. And it was it was a game that we played over and over and over again and failed over and over and over again because it was brutally hard. But it was a great game. And so when the new XCOM 1 I don't know. It was basically a series reboot because it went back to the original concept of what XCOM was, which was you were the defense force against the invading aliens, and you had to build your base, and you had to fly out and intercept UFOs and explore the wreckage and prevent them from terrorizing the populace. They kind of went back to the core, and that was a good move, and it was really well done. And what made me extremely happy was that it was really popular, or at least popular enough that what I think was a bit of a experiment on the Fire Axis's part ended up being a success. So the fact that even an XCOM 2 even exists, that it was enough of a success that this genre, which has been kind of languishing for this long, is resurfacing, makes me a very happy camper.
Yay!
Well, that's a good
And-
history.
I do have a story of my own for Demo Disc that we will talk about later because it's completely off topic from that. In a completely different way. Well, let's go on to the next story because this one's actually kind of interesting in a way. Okay. And this was reported August 24th. There was going to be a mass shooting at the Pokemon World Championships of this year, but it was prevented.
What?
Yeah. There were... Let's see here. Reading word for word from the article. The shooting would have been carried out by two men who were linked to violent threats made on social media, which turned out to be directed to attendees of the tournament. The pair involved an 18-year-old Kevin Norton and a 27-year-old James Stumbo, both arrested under suspicion of illegal possession of an AR-15 rifle, a shotgun, and hundreds of bullets.
Okay, are we talking about the Pokemon mass shooting right now?
Yep.
Yes.
I don't have very little information on that, but what was
Yeah.
explain to me exactly what happened.
They
Okay.
basically they made online threats, loaded the weapons that they were
Going to use.
threatening to use into their car, and were they on the way to it, or did they arrive there?
Let's see, Norton and Stumbo were stopped from entering the event's location on Thursday. At the Boston Hines Convention Center, detectives later found that they had a 12-gauge shotgun and a rifle, several hundred rounds of ammunition, and a hunting knife in their car, which they transported from Iowa.
And they were
They
illegally
also
possessed firearms.
Yeah. Yep, and they lacked a license to carry the guns. And were arrested at a nearby hotel
Why?
because they decided we're gonna be douchebags and kill people there directly.
Yeah, they said they threatened that they were going to cause Columbine Part 2 or another Boston Massacre.
At a Pokemon World Championship?
Yeah.
That's weirdly specific.
Yep.
Yeah.
What?
You know the worst part about it?
Yeah.
The parents of the kids won't be playing Pokemon for a while.
Oh, good lord. That's the least of their problems.
Sure.
I don't. It's a really weird piece of news. I mean, I don't know. I expect something like this to happen like at a school or something, but like, what, did someone trade a bad Pokemon card? Gypped them on their Pokemon cards, or kicked them in
Or,
the face?
They're probably mad or something.
Did they ever explain exactly what the killer's motives? I mean, the attempted murderer's motives were, or anything
Well,
other than?
if I had to suspect, I would say that they thought that they were pulling a prank because they left the weapons in the car. This is just me completely randomly guessing. They left the weapons in the car, so maybe they thought it would be funny to make those threats. I mean, do they have just a really warped sense of humor?
You know,
I mean, that's really twisted if that's the case.
If it was going to be a joke, I don't think they would have actually got the weapons and had them illegal. They don't even have a license. These were weird weapons.
That's true. I honestly don't know what they were trying to accomplish.
It's rather elaborate for fucking with people, especially if you're actually bringing the weapons. It's really elaborate. On
Was
to
there
Yeah.
hmm?
But
was there
it makes
actually
no
live
sense
ammo?
because it
I'm sorry. What was that, Star?
Actually was there actually a live ammo inside the guns?
Yes, it was live ammo with the guns and hundreds of bullets.
It doesn't make any sense. This doesn't make any sense at all. I can't. I don't have much to say on it because there's so little to say other than the fuck was going on through their minds.
Yeah. Well, on to another Nintendo-related topic because Pokemon Nintendo. Uh, Nintendo has filed a patent for a console with no optical device, which I assume is the
I think this is a good idea.
NX for the NX.
I think this is a good idea. I'm gonna tell you why. Because
Okay.
um, I currently own a PS3, and currently I don't own any games in physical copies on it. I've gotten to the point where I just don't feel the need to go and buy a game at GameStop when I can just buy it off a PlayStation Network. So it's been like I feel like this is something that I mean, you know, when remember the PSP Go?
Yeah.
Um, during the time, I felt like even though a lot of people mock it, uh, I feel like the main problem behind it was that it came out too early, and people were still very much attached to buying games on physical disc. On top of that, I don't know the storage space on that thing either, and games getting bigger and bigger, so I guess that would have been a problem for that system. Um, but as far as now, I'm no longer like I think if this was like a few years back, if this was like 5 or 6 years ago that Nintendo announces this, I would have said this is a really, really stupid idea. But now I don't know. Now I think it's like that's what I'm assuming. I'm assuming that Nintendo is making a console that's download only. However, this is Nintendo we're talking about. So there's a good chance they've created an entirely new storage medium for Nintendo NX. There's a very good chance they've decided to have. I think Alpha Omega San said that they might decide to have cartridges.
Going back to the good old days, are we
which
Nintendo?
is which would be interesting. It would be such a Nintendo thing for them to go, this new console will have cartridges. That is such a Nintendo mindset. But
Well, actually, um, in the article it says there is a card slot that can read input such as at the memory cards.
so that is an
So
interesting
maybe
thing is that
that was an Alpha Omega saying that was a Kawashino podcast. I'm sorry. Getting my YouTube videos wrong.
for shame.
But okay. Actually, that makes sense too, because I mean, like, um, this isn't a bad idea. I mean, you can have the system that have on memory, and then I would hope they would have opportunities to allow you to store them on like hard drives or SD cards or something. So this isn't a bad idea. This doesn't sound like terrible news. It sounds like Nintendo trying to. Whose static is that? Real quick.
Not me.
Who's opening chips in front of their mic?
What?
Okay, back on Nintendo. This is a good idea. This is surprising for Nintendo to choose this stuff. This is something that I would expect from Sony. This sounds like a Sony move. Like, but this isn't a bad idea. This is not a bad idea. They are trying to look at the future instead of looking to the past like they normally do. Not that that's a bad thing. I mean, they've looked into the past and created a lot of beloved and interesting things. But they also have a terrible habit of staring too far into the past. That's my
Yeah.
opinion on it.
Now, the only question I have is, okay, Grim, I have one little problem with the PlayStation Store, and that is, if a game is removed, you no longer will have access to that game. This is even more prominent with the PlayStation 4. In fact, the license for the games that get removed are killed, and you will no longer able to play those games, even if you have them on your hard drive. But if you PS3, you can still play them, but as soon as it's deleted, it's gone. And Sony does not do a credits, etc. for the game that gets removed or anything. You're just out of luck. For Steam, if a game gets removed, you still have access to that game, and you can re-download it whenever you want. Just no one else can buy it.
Yeah, that sounds like a very that sounds like something to be concerned about. Because I was going to address that. They This is why a lot of consoles need to take Steam's model. I mean, I don't see why they haven't adopted that recently. I mean, it just seems like this. Somebody help me out here. Somebody help me out here. Yeah,
Here's something that Valve did that I can't say that word. It made a lot of people's fears go away in the early days because there's a lot of discussion of what would happen if Steam is a failure. And by that I mean early in the experiment of Steam, right? It was a service from which you would download your games and your patches and so on. What happens if Steam fails and your games go away? Because it was the first thing that was really like that, right? And that was a genuine concern. What would happen if there is no Steam tomorrow? Well, that's a big problem because you lose all the games that you've purchased.
About hundreds of dollars worth of games, yeah.
Yeah.
So what they promised is they said, if we ever close down the service, we will disable the DRM. We will give everyone the keys to the kingdom. And that's what we'll do. That's what I recall them promising. I might be misremembering it, but that is the promise that I remember. And that was what got people comfortable enough to use the Steam service. So like, okay, yeah, I mean, we trust Valve, so if they ever do shut down Steam, they're going to give us the keys, and we'll be all right. We'll still be able to have our games. We'll, of course, have an absolute swarm of everyone trying to download every single game that they care about in their library before the service shuts off, but at least you'll still have access to them, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. First of all, how long does Nintendo keep services up for? Not very long. So
Nope. Mario Strikers.
Yeah, if Nintendo decides that they are going to make the Nintendo NX afterwards, does that mean that your old console is basically going to become a brick, first of all?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I mean, okay, on the surface, no optical drive sounds like a good idea. I mean, to me, it sounds like a really good idea. But then, I forgot it was Nintendo. I forgot it was Nintendo. Even though I explained that I was aware of Nintendo, I forgot that this is still Nintendo at the end of the fucking day. So, so I'm pretty sure there's a very, very, very good chance they will fuck this up.
I'm always worried about that from someone who's slightly obsessed with retro gaming, right? I mean, I hooked up my N64. I was talking about this in the beginning. I hooked up my N64 again because I like playing N64 games, and I actually I have an N64 flash card. uh, to be fair, I legitimately have cartridge backup tools too, so I can actually back up my own games and play them on the card. And I have actually done development work using my flash card as well. I have successfully compiled programs that run on my N64, and that just feels awesome. But anyway, I like retro games. I like being able to pull old games out of the closet, plug them in, and have them work. When I see things move into the digital realm, like with regards to Xbox Live Arcade was PlayStation Network, things like that. What I see is a generation of consoles whose history is going to vanish someday, and that concerns me.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm having a feeling too. I mean, of all the companies that really need to back up their library, Nintendo is one of the most important libraries. I mean, I feel like that's something they need. I mean, how many times are you going to have to buy a new console to rebuy the same games over and over again before Nintendo gets it? Or any company gets it, to be
Yes.
exact. Because I think the one thing that made me hesitant to get a PS4 is that I want to be able to play all the games that I've owned on PS3 on the PS4 through PSN. And if that's not going to happen, I'm just going to have to deal with having both consoles. It's just, it seems like such a gamble to go ahead and like take a if you don't have the console, or you're taking your old console back as a credit to get the new one. This seems like a real big gamble. A lot of companies seem to bank on new content instead of and abandoning their old content. Like you hear a lot about HD remasters, where the company had to rebuild the game from the bottom up, where Sega has to have stealth come in to recreate the classic Sonic games because they don't have the original code or anything like that. They don't have anything to back that stuff up. I'm guessing they got the original assets. I would hope they have the original assets. If Stealth didn't have to grab everything off of the internet or grab a ROM off of a CD site. I
Yeah.
mean, it,
Uh,
you seen that with Kingdom Hearts too. They had to rebuild the game from the ground up. It just seems like uh that's something that really, really, really needs to be considered when you're creating a new console, when you're making games and you're trying to bring back the old ones. That's something they need to consider. I don't understand why companies keep throwing away all this old code, especially old code to games that were critically acclaimed. It doesn't make any sense.
like
Yeah, there's
the original coding for Panzer Dragoon, the
Yes.
original one for Sega CD. Actually, all that code in right now, all the original files are currently lost in a Sega building that is quarantined off from radiation.
I think a lot of Sega Saturn games are lost currently. You don't see a lot of Sega Saturn titles being released on new consoles. Where's a stall? Where's where's the Crown games
you know what's
game?
you know what I suspect is behind that?
Hmm?
The
What?
fact that Sega, a lot of these like when Nintendo dug up their old games and released them on the Wii, right? It
Hmm.
was like they were one of the first ones to do that, to go through their back catalog and put all their games on there. What they did is they used emulation techniques. So I suspect that the reason you're not seeing a lot of Saturn games is because Saturn emulation still sucks.
Be right back.
Mm, yeah.
I can actually what was I going to talk about? There was something with regards to archiving game. Oh yeah. Uh, yes, companies do try to capitalize on their back market, but bizarre things happen. Like Nintendo had their arcade for the Wii, right, with all their old games.
Yeah.
There was the Mario Party series, Mario Party 1, 2, and 3, right?
Mhm.
The game that I played the most when the Mario Party series was new was Mario Party 1. And when on Nintendo Virtual Console, they came out with Mario Party 2 and Mario Party 3, and they did not have Mario Party 1. Even though that was the one that I wanted to buy because that was the one that I had all the memories of, right? Turns out that
Yep.
that was because this is weird. Nintendo got sued for Mario Party 1 back in the day. It was
Oh,
a
because
class-
of the controller bit, right?
It was a class action lawsuit because they had mini games where you had to rotate the joystick as fast as you can, and people were injuring their hands doing that.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I'm serious.
Yeah.
Yes, people were injuring their. I had actually myself ended up with a giant blister on one of my paws from that mini game. They had a class action lawsuit, and the remedy for it was that people who were part of the class that won the lawsuit, because the lawsuit was won, would get Nintendo gloves sent to them so that they could wear them while playing the game.
What the heck?
Yes. So when it came to the Wii Virtual Console, Nintendo just was like, we're not going to deal with this. And they just released Mario Party 2 and Mario Party 3. And that just means that Mario Party 1 basically vanishes from Nintendo's catalog on all their future consoles. That game will never come back.
That's depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really depressing. I mean, I don't know. I feel sorry for your hands, but
Your hands got over it.
your
They got
hands
better.
to get over it. Fucking, I hate when that happens. I hate when you got something that memorable and it's killed off through all these. Man, that sucks. That sucks so
Yep,
much.
and it also happens with other bizarre things too, because Nintendo had third party, first party, I don't know what they're called. Third party, first party developers is what I'm going to call them, where they had people who would design games just for them, and then but they weren't actually a part of Nintendo.
Yeah,
Like Rare is a good example.
Yeah.
yeah.
Or Retro
And when-
Studio.
Yeah, and when they leave, who owns the games? And it very often becomes a massive legal mess, and then they can't release the games made by those studios in the future again. So
Exactly.
that is the issue with the idea of, oh, don't worry, you won't lose your collection because they will just re-release the game again. Not only do you have to buy the game again for the new console, Nintendo does try to alleviate that by allowing you to transfer licenses and things like that. But the other issue is some games can't be re-released because of bizarre legal issues.
Yeah.
This is why I'm kind of slowly becoming a PC gamer, because at least I know that when I get a new PC, I can still play all the old games I had before. And if push comes to shove, emulation.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, there's some old PC games that don't run anymore simply because the new hardware is not computable with the old software.
but don't
But that's very, very rare.
yeah.
Yeah,
Don't people
and it's
mod
actually
those?
it's actually kind of cool. Yeah, some of them are modded, but there's that software called DOSBox, which is brilliant because what DOSBox is it's not a DOSBox in the traditional sense. Like Windows for a long time had its own little DOS thing that was embedded, but that was just the software layer. It still went down to your hardware whenever any hardware calls were made. So if you had a game that was targeted Sound Blaster and Gravis Ultrasound, unless you actually had a freaking Sound Blaster and Gravis Ultrasound, keep in mind they meant like the 16-bit ISA ones. The newer Sound Blasters are just regular sound cards with a logo slapped on them. You weren't going to be able to play those old games. So what DOSBox actually did is it emulates a full computer from the ground up. It emulates an old x86 processor. It emulates a Sound Blaster or a Gravis Ultrasound. It emulates the whatchamacallit, whichever you can switch between all the different graphics modes, whatever you need, and it lets you play old DOS games. And you don't even need to be running an x86 processor, which is incredible. You can actually run old DOS games like on an ARM processor because it's the full stack. It's the full hardware stack. So there are projects made to try and preserve games, but again, that only works if the game was actually released for DOS originally.
Yeah, like the original Warcraft.
I feel like people need to start talking to these companies and trying to ask them if they will be willing to try to keep their code. Well, we don't know now. We don't know if these companies even still have the old code for any of the games they have. There's a very good chance that a good chunk, probably maybe 80% of the Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis library is completely lost to history. All the master
Possibly.
code, all the master code is gone, and the only thing that's left are ROMs. And I don't understand why companies don't take advantage of this, especially Sega. I don't understand why companies do not take advantage of the fact that ROMs exist. They are obsessed with trying to end piracy, and I get it, but I also don't get it because you can. The fans are the only ones that are doing it. The gamers are the only ones that are trying to keep the games existing in some form
And
or fashion.
it's especially
Yeah.
funny when it comes to Nintendo, because Nintendo is the most sour on emulation, right? Out of all the companies,
Yeah.
Nintendo dislikes it the most. The way that they the Wii has some N64 games that they ported over to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Wii is not a powerful enough machine to emulate N64 hardware. Early in the days of N64 emulators, the PCs that those emulators were running were not strong enough to emulate the actual N64 hardware. The people who were coming up with N64 emulation at the time had to invent a new technique called high-level emulation, which would emulate the libraries, the microcodes that Nintendo would ship out, instead of emulating the hardware. They'd emulate the software environment that the games ran inside, which was basically a collection of libraries Nintendo would ship. They were the
That's
ones who
interesting.
invented this technique. The people in the emulation scene, and Nintendo was fighting them all the way with regards to this. And then Nintendo just copies their technique in order to get the games running on the Wii.
I just realized that because okay, I don't give a shit if we talk about piracy here, right? I had a modded Wii. Um, I had a lot of emulated games on the Wii. I had PlayStation, and the biggest problem I had was getting certain PlayStation games and certain uh Neo Geo games to play on my Wii on a Wii. And no, this doesn't make any sense. This is a new console. This console is several generations away from Neo Geo, and I can't play half the Neo Geo library on it.
Yeah, it's because in order to emulate actual hardware, it takes a considerably more beefy machine than the machine was, and they got around that with the N64 and actually with GameCube emulation as well, GameCube and Wii emulation on the computer. By This was the first generation of consoles where instead of actually targeting the hardware, Nintendo would give you a dev environment basically. They'd say link against this library. I think it was called libultra.
Mhm.
And this library has nice functions for you to draw graphics on the screen, to play PCM audio, to do all this nice stuff. So you don't have to interface with the hardware, just interface with this library. So the early emulation for N64 was basically, well, we'll just take apart this library and emulate that. And it worked great for the most part.
I
Unless,
ran into some graphic issues on certain games back then on older N64
yes,
emulators.
it's
Yeah.
especially Factor 5. I think I brought them up before. Factor 5 made all the Star Wars Rogue Squadron games
Oh
and
god,
things
I
like
couldn't
that.
play any of them
Yes,
back in the
that's
day.
because they were like, "Oh, we can't get the performance that we need out of the library that Nintendo shipped with us, the microcode that they shipped with to us. So we're going to write our own." And they just went nuts. They basically just targeted the hardware directly and wrote their own things, and that's why they're so hard to emulate. Is because you would basically have to write a custom emulator for each one of Factor 5's games.
That explains that actually there that explains why their Wii's Neo Geo games are very meager, because a good chunk of them don't work on the Wii because of its RAM.
Yep.
Yep. So the reason why that they had older Fatal Furies and older King of Fighters, but they didn't have anything like Mark of the Wolves, which runs on the original Neo Geo, is because of RAM issues. And I had that problem trying to play arcade games on there. I couldn't play certain arcade. I couldn't play Real Bout Fatal Fury, 2, because of that. Real Bout
Yeah,
Fatal Fury 2 is old.
Well,
and
sir,
also keep
what
in
do you
mind
think?
with
Since you've been
with
quiet
Neo-
for so long.
I think Q went to go take his dog out.
Wait, what?
Okay. I was asking, what's your thoughts
Q
on all
star.
this since you've
Q
been
star
quiet,
is what to say. Professor
star.
Q.
Professor?
I was still talking about the guy was talking about how you got rely on PC more than the consoles.
Yeah.
And well, most people gotta understand that there's less PC gamers because the price is on the computers. So yeah, it's true that you can build the PC build up, but some people are just pretty much lazy and they don't just like buy a computer actually work on just like to play buy a computer to actually play games.
You
But
might need to fix your mic, Professor Q.
God
Because
dang it.
yeah, it's very difficult to hear what you're trying to say. We're trying to get everybody to discuss it. You know, but I'm sorry. I apologize for that.
You know, we've actually been on this topic of the Nintendo for a little while. I think maybe we should switch over to
No,
the
but
next
I
section.
wanted to hear what QQ was trying to say real quick before we go on,
Okay,
because I was curious.
sure.
Um,
Hello? Testing 1 2.
Did you say QQ or Professor?
QQ.
Oh.
okay.
I'm gonna just start calling you Professor, all right?
Let's see. What was I going on about?
Yes.
Uh,
You were ready to say something really, really interesting, but we kind of went off. Let's get topic. Okay. Bottom line is, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what Nintendo NX does. We're worried that Nintendo might fuck it up.
Yes, Nintendo.
Play your old games. Hope the big bad piracy police doesn't come down on you. Emulators are great. Look, emulators are great when you need to play games that you can't get anywhere else. All right, that's what it all comes down to. It. I should talk more about piracy in the future. But anywho, let's move on to the next topic. What is it? What's the next topic?
You know, let's go up to the Loot Gamer section.
Well, first of all, Metal Gear Solid 5 Game of the
I
Year
figured we was gonna
guaranteed.
leave that for last for the gaming section.
Oh God, yes. We're all gonna have a whole Konami section. All right, let's be real. All right,
Okay.
let's get this. Let's get this. This is a
Yeah,
whole day on Konami.
You start with Street Fighter.
Oh yeah, new character in Street Fighter, Aramika. I am happy with this.
But
These are new
Jason
characters.
Schrodinger is not happy. He doesn't like the booby ladies.
Jason Schrodinger. He is the Schrodinger journalist.
Kotaku.
No one knows whether or not he's a good journalist. He's a Schrodinger.
Until you read each one of his articles, until you observe them, it's ambiguous if he's a good journalist or not.
Yes.
Once you read them, the waveform collapses and he becomes, well, usually he's complaining about boobies.
He doesn't like the booby ladies. Booby ladies.
I actually think it's really funny because you know how like actors get typecast Like they play a certain type of role enough, and then they just start getting more and more of that same type of role. I somehow somewhat feel like Jason Schreier has become uh, like a typed journalist. Like Kotaku's like, all right, we need someone to complain about big titties. Who do we have on our staff who's an expert about complaining about big titties? Let me see. Oh, Jason, you've written a whole bunch of articles complaining about big titties. You're the one who's going to write this next article complaining about big titties. All right? And it's like, all right. I'll complain about them again.
He is the
Why
best.
can't you get someone from
I hate-
Polygon to do it?
I hate to generalize people. But Ben Katura and Jason Schreier are like the best fucking examples. They're the best fucking examples. For any, if you see Jason Schreier talk about sexual objectification, you will know that a good chunk of journalists within his circle all share the same opinion. Okay, Armika is here. She's looking a little bit more scandalous than usual. I'll be real with you, alright? When I saw the Niche Gamer thing and the fact that she's managed to look even more stripperific than she already has looked.
Stripperella.
No, because I'm pretty sure I could have sworn she didn't have a thong. But I guess a Capcom artist is really, really into ass. You can tell.
I am.
You can tell because of Cammy, but he has really defined her character look. I guess a little bit more. I had to take a double take when I was looking at the official character art because I thought that she was backless. Here's the image. I sent it through Skype. I thought she was backless.
Whoa.
Yes.
Does she? It's like as if she doesn't have anything on the back, does it?
But it's typical. She's a showman, though. I think this is expected for Armika of her character. She was designed that way, and that's a very important aspect of the character. And on the subject of sexual objectification, I'm not trying to say it's not something that doesn't exist, but there are certain characters that you kind of expect to wear certain kinds of clothing. Those characters are Armika, a good chunk of the Dead or Alive cast, and my Shiranui. I feel sorry for anyone who is upset by my mispronunciation of her last name. But yes, this is Jason Schreier is Jason Stroginger is talking out of his ass again.
Well, it's somewhat a case of the thing is there's women that look like that, and there's women who look like that and dress like that and enjoy the agency that they have looking and dressing like that. To look and dress like that. The issue is in this case that what the intended audience is.
Where was
and
he
Jason
during Alpha
Schreier
3?
He's of course arguing that the intended audience is males. So,
But what about the lesbians? Does no one care about the
that's
lesbians?
the thing. I mean,
I actually think there's a lot of straight women who are fine with female characters like this. I've actually met a few. I actually know artists who draw these type of female characters. So I don't think he really has a dog in his fight.
well, that's the other angle that he sometimes takes, or not him specifically, but that I should say that I see presented is that it's a if the game is made by a bunch of guys who are just making these dolls because that's what they like to make because that's what they like to see, that's also problematic somehow.
Hey,
these people hate fun.
Who's your partner?
Who?
Hmm?
Oh,
partner.
Yamato Nade Shiko. Yamato Nade Shiko. I have a Japanese book. I am learning. but uh,
Yay.
Yamato Yanashika was featured in a piece of promotional artwork for Street Fighter Alpha 3 sometime back then, and she was presented as Armika's tag team partner. She didn't appear in the game, but she is expanded universe stuff.
Can you say that name again?
Yamato Nadeshiko.
Is that spelled how I think it is?
Yes. Yamato
That's actually
Nade.
That's actually Japanese slang then.
Yes. Uh,
Interesting.
yes, it's a term used for a particular kind of woman. I might
What
have
kind
been
of woman is
pronouncing the
that?
Yamato part wrong. Let me look it up.
Oh, by the way, I decided to look up pictures to see if she actually does have a back and whatnot for her outfit, and I came across this. Have a laugh.
Nice, nice, very
Oh,
nice.
good God.
Holy crap!
Fantastic. That's what I needed.
Should
Oh
be
my
stuck on
gosh.
me.
That's what the hell I needed.
For those of you
What?
who cannot see this, I
Hey, why
linked up
don't
a
you just
picture
link it in the
of
chat?
the bear Akuma in a Mika outfit.
Remind me
And
of
he
Betty.
just has the
Those are one
widest
of the
eyes.
Those are one of the costumes Street Fighter X Tekken had, where characters would dress up in the opposite character's clothing or something like that. They had like Tekken characters and Street Fighter character clothing, and I think they had Street Fighter characters and Tekken character clothing. So don't
Yeah.
quote me on that, but okay. Yamato Nadeshika is considered a complicated Japanese aesthetic and cultural concept. Breaking the expression down, Yamato. La, 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 la. Broadly speaking, then Yamato. Let me just read the whole damn thing. Breaking the expression down, Yamato is one of the older and thus fancier, more poetic names for Japan and the Japanese people and culture, similar to the Celtic Albion for the island of Great Britain and Air or Erin for Ireland. Nadeshiko is the Japanese name for Dianthus superbus, a wildflower found in the Japanese highland that's related to the carnation. This is not telling me why they use this term. Broadly speaking, then, a Yamato Nadeshiko is a flower of Nipponese womanhood, a woman with attributes that were considered desirable in the male-dominated. Oh gosh, this is going feminist territory. Neil, I should just make a banner says feminist territory incoming. Male dominated Neo Confucian Japan of the 19th century and beyond. Neo Confucian. The term was generally ascribed to the noble women with traditional upbringings, but after the formal abolishment of the caste system, blah blah blah, basically it has to do with a
Caste system.
proper, loving wife type of woman.
Okay.
Basically, it's
So
the yukata wearing lady who sits on her knees and says, would you like me to serve you, Zuyu, in some way or something like a proper innocent wife who doesn't you know this is feminist territory, obviously. But
so
I have
here's
a
the
feeling
interesting
this
thing.
article was not as feminist as I remember it, because I remember reading this article and didn't have the have such buzzwords like male dominated. Uh, it was male dominated.
It might
I
have
mean, like,
been edited or
but
something.
still, I didn't have such a feminist tone on it. Either that, or it's just recent things have made me see feminism in everything now. But
All right, you guys in the chat, who were just starting to talk about this and went and quickly edited the article just to put that in there. I'm on to you guys.
come on, come on. They gotta be punking me.
Well, I'm actually find it interesting that Jason is complaining about the outfit and not the name of the partner, because I think that would be a more interesting discussion. However, that assumes that anyone working at Kotaku actually understands Japanese culture, and I think that might be a little bit of a stretch, despite their name of being Kotaku.
I
It's a
literally
play on otaku.
the first
Yeah.
thing I thought about when I first visited Kotaku was I thought it was like an otaku wonderland or something. I was expecting like
That's what I thought too.
Japanese games and stuff, but there was a whole bunch of bullshit.
Like, look at this sexy butt on this watermelon.
That's what they
Look
need
at
to
this
do.
building that's a giant restroom that is shaped and designed like the White House.
They just need to make all the characters into watermelons, and then Kotaku won't have a problem with their sexy butts.
I mean, they sure do love watermelon butts.
And speaking of sexy stuff, would you like to go on to the next topic section?
Yes. Thank you, Kota, for moderating. Good. You're doing a good job at this because I'm
I
doing a
tried.
terrible job. All right then. Let's talk about
Exceed.
Exceed. Exceed has announced a new Saren Kagura. So, for all you who love big boob ninja ladies who like to get naked when they don't really like to get naked, because I'm pretty sure most of their defeats are caused by clothing damage. So maybe it's in accidental naked ninja girls whose life bars are their clothing. This is a game for you.
Don't forget about the Double D edition.
I never heard of this game before.
Saren Kagura is an interesting series because I've seen gameplay of it. It looks fun. I would totally
And it's on 3DS.
yeah, I would totally get one. I
Yes.
totally get one and play because I seen two best friends play it and it looked really fun. I was like, you know what, fuck it, I can play this.
It's on the 3DS and PlayStation consoles.
I can get my
Is this,
big booby ninja lady ass kicking.
So
games.
is this a fan service?
Yep. Fan service game.
Kind of.
Kind of. I think it has a deep story. There's
With-
plot somewhere in there. There's plot somewhere.
Look at all that plot in that chest.
There's some plot somewhere. You just gotta look past the boobs. You might find a deep kernel of plot somewhere. I'm pretty sure it's a deep ninja story about epic ninja clans fighting each other. I think I've watched an anime at least once, so I'm pretty sure it's about like two ninja teams that are like rivals or something. They got evil ninja ladies and they got good ninja ladies who go to academy, and when they get into ninja fights, they have magical girl transformations and transform into even fetishier outfits so that they can fight
I believe
other
I've seen the
ninja
anime,
ladies.
but
That's-
all I've seen of the anime involved lots and lots of the girls molesting each other.
Yeah, and there's lots of lesbian stuff, so I guess that's interesting. You if you're into that, but
Yep.
I'm fine with Yuri. I'm fine with Yuri. I like that more than boring male protagonist surrounded by bitches.
You mean harems?
Yeah, harems are overdone now.
One dude, a whole bunch of bitches. No, but
And
my
talking with,
misogyny is
more
showing. No,
talking with more Yuri,
but Moe Yuri is better. Moe Yuri is so much better because there's no boring male protagonist. All the characters are interesting and intriguing and have intriguing personalities and goals in life, and they just all happen to have massive yonkers.
well, actually, that's game we're talking about. Then involves Yuri. Doesn't have massive.
There's
yonkers.
one with a iron board, I guess. There are people into that.
The next
Iron
one
boards.
called
It's obligatory.
Lilium Et's Triangle, a short and wholesome Yuri can't pronounce that visual novel, is getting a fan translation patch by a amateur group called Tiny Lily.
Is it porn? This is
Why do you
important.
think included? Yes.
This is
Why do you
important.
think included?
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Yes, great.
It
Good.
is a very porny visual novel about a
This is
succubus
what this
girl
podcast
gets
is
stuck in
about, right here.
succubus girl who gets stuck in the human world, and she kisses girls to suck out their energy.
Lou Gamer should talk more about visual novels with traps.
I'm sure they have
Maybe
some,
you
some
should
coverage of that.
talk to Becky about that.
Probably. No, but this seems interesting. The art looks cute and pastel and moe, and what you expect from cute pastel colors and moe. And there's scissoring. So anyone into scissors?
I can turn off of this.
I actually find it fascinating that like this type of thing is actually being covered now, because it's just very unusual. This would be unimaginable just a couple of years ago that any website would cover this as news. I'm quite pleased by this, actually.
Yes, I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about that because one thing I noticed a lot about, my adoption of Lou Gamer and Niche Gamer as my de facto websites for all my gaming news, realizing that they would do articles, previews, and reviews on moe visual novels and moe RPGs and stuff, games that you wouldn't expect to see in big mainstream video game websites. Kind of fills my heart
Really,
with
anything pornographic at all.
yeah, kind of fills my heart with joy. It kind of makes me go, yes, this is what I want my gaming to be about. All about every game and not just the latest boring big explosive American game or how much this game triggers the journalists right now.
Yeah, well, it's almost fulfilling the original role of what Kotaku was imagined to be about, right? It was
Yeah,
meant to
that's what I was
focus
expecting.
more on niche Japanese culture and games and things like that, which no one actually focuses on anymore. And we finally, or I don't know if we finally have that, or if we finally found that. I finally found publications that actually cover these things, and
Yeah.
not just the selective few that
Or
that they
forums.
decide.
And I'm what you call a huge connoisseur of Japanese video games. I'm very, very interested in Japanese video games, whether or not the art style.
I am a
Yes.
connoisseur of things.
Yes.
This is a very tasty
Yes.
Yuri.
I am very, very
This
much
trap
into
is not aged properly.
into my weeb. I'm very interested. I am such a huge weeaboo, and I want to know about my latest big Japanese slash fest video game about characters and shit. But I've lost that. I lost that with a lot of bigger sites. It just seems like they talk about things I'm not really all that interested in. And if they do manage to talk about a Japanese moe game or something like that, they usually talk about how problematic it is or something.
Open the visual novel first and savor the bouquet before you proceed.
Instead of
This is why you tune in every week. This is what you should expect every week, everyone.
from now on. Yep.
Okay.
This is actually
Hmm?
let's see here. That's one called For Sale in Japan Only, a Japanese developer's perspective on the Irod embargo.
Okay. I didn't read the article, so I'm gonna let Kota explain that to me. Kota, speak sweet nothings into my ears.
Well, pretty much the article was actually talking about. It's kind of actually an interview, to tell you the truth. Talking about why is it that a lot of Japanese erotic games are mainly only sold in Japan.
Oh, that's interesting. God,
Yeah.
why didn't I read this? Ah, man, this is such an impromptu piece of news. I literally ignored this. I'm so terrible at this. I would have so much to talk about if I knew what the hell the article was about. Okay.
One involves sometimes the kink might be a little bit too extreme, and for example, Rape the rape simulator game.
Oh Lord.
Western people
Can
who
we not
learned
call them
about this.
simulators?
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying what
Wait.
people call it. Okay.
No,
What you say?
I'm saying it's a joke. Keep going.
A Western audience that found out this game existed actually contacted the Japanese government demanding the game be banned.
Yeah.
The Japanese government.
Even though none of the people would ever have touched or played the game, and the game would have never been sold in any GameStop, the only people who would be interested in Rapeplay are people who are on the computer a lot and are looking up random Japanese eroge games to play to get their rocks off. There's no reason to ban that game. You're an adult too. If you're 18 and over, you should know better. You're not gonna play the game and suddenly go like, you know what I feel like doing right now? I feel like going out and raping people.
And you know what? This game isn't even. You can't even purchase it for American. It's Japanese sold only.
That's such.
So there's that.
It's so stupid. It was such a stupid thing to get outraged about.
And then there's the other one where, they don't program the game for non-Japanese windows. And then which a third party has to patch it, and they end up fucking it up. Either removing stuff or not removing stuff. And
Oh man.
usually these games have a lot of for sale in Japan only, and it tends to end up with a lawsuit for a lot of these when they're sold outside of Japan.
I almost feel like reading this while y'all discuss this, because I really want to talk about this, but I didn't read it, so I don't understand half of it. Okay, you know what? QQ and Kota, y'all go ahead and continue talking about this. I'm about to read this.
Sure. From what I can see in the article is they didn't. Someone patched their. So this is if you ever buy any kind of visual novel from Japan and then try to run it on your copy of Windows, you'll quickly learn that it will immediately exit because you don't have the Japanese language pack installed by default. And then when you get that installed, it will exit again because you don't have your locale and language set to Japanese.
I know about that, yeah.
Yeah, you have to set your entire operating system's language to Japanese, and then you fire the game up again, and then maybe it'll run. Basically, there is a game company that a fan patched their game in order to allow it to work, and then submitted the patch back to the company. And they were very confused about this because they're like, well, you're not supposed to be playing this game outside of Japan. And so they... Lewd Gamer got in contact with them and was talking to them about that, and they basically, as far as I can tell, their big issue is they don't want to have to support the game outside of the Japanese market because that becomes very, very expensive.
Oh yeah, these are very small companies, visual novel companies. Yeah, they're very independent games. So. I get that. So
what their decision was, just put a banner on there that says we don't support it out. That says it's only for use inside of Japan, because then there's no expectation that we're providing support to anyone who tries to get this running in their own country.
That's I mean, it sucks. It sucks because lately visual novels have become very popular. It was a matter of time too. But, I mean, I feel like a lot of these, you know what the suckest part about it is that Steam doesn't allow nudity. But, I mean, like, there are ways, well, except if your game is heavily a porn game, then you're just playing a bunch of still images of nothing.
Unless it's animated,
Yeah.
the animated ones.
If there was some way that someone could create some sort of uh middle ground, a publisher for this type of stuff. There's another issue that I forgot that a lot of visual novels run into, and that's usually the content within those games, like uh um games that have a lot of heavy fetishes that Americans will look at and go, "Oh my God, my word!" Wearing my monocle.
Yes.
Why would you even do that?
Think of the
Jimmy,
kids.
no.
The kids who would never play this game. Think of them.
Yes, a lot of the more fetishy ones kind of are a fetish stone soup. They throw absolutely everything in there. Like they
Yeah.
try to appeal to every single possible little niche thing, and a lot of those are, as far as I can tell, common in like hentai manga, and things like that.
Is
I mean, they're just genres that people understand are just fantasy.
is
And
that why there a lot of trap doujinshi doesn't get released because the characters might appear to be underage?
Yes.
the US has very different standards about what is
Yeah.
considered an acceptable fantasy to have. And yes, that is one of the things that you will have trouble explaining to Western audiences.
Mhm.
Is if the character looks small and flat chested, then it is generally understood that you should not be looking at them, as far as Western audiences go. Or
Which is kind of absurd when you think about it. It's very much so absurd.
well, I tend to use the example of Disgaea, right?
Yeah.
Because these are characters who are uh, angels and demons that have been alive for thousands upon thousands of years, maybe longer.
And God, if everyone look like children.
Yes, and they all look like they all look like little kids.
Yeah.
So
Even though they're thousands of years old, there's
yeah,
we have a lot of there's I mean like there's stories that we will allow where there's characters who are vampires or something that were bitten when they were 12 or something like that, and they still retain that body despite being what 40 or 100 years old. So it's just so absurd. A lot of the times, a lot of this is very absurd because it kind of stifles art a lot. It stifles a lot of conversations that are uncomfortable, sure, but that writers and authors could be willing to ask. But I guess you also have the. It's very sketchy. It's very. It's both depressing, but
well, yeah, I think one of the things that everyone has to think of is that art being provocative doesn't make it not art.
yeah,
Art being provocative is actually something that has been a traditional part of art for a long time,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, you could think of that. One of the most provocative pieces of art that I can think of just off the top of my head is Piss Christ, right? That was insanely offensive to a lot of people, very provocative, was vandalized multiple times, but was undeniably art, right?
Yeah.
We've just established that certain things are so provocative that we will not even give them the label art, and I think that's strange.
Yeah, I it's kind of depressing that we have to go through this because society isn't I feel like our society isn't as mature as Japan society in some cases. I mean,
If you really want to bother people, say our society isn't as progressive with regards to that. That will
yeah.
really get under some people's skin.
Yes, yeah. I
But
mean, I'm not trying to say
Japanese
Japan is
people are
the
misogynist,
glorious
don't you know?
Nippon is like the greatest country ever because they got their own little problems. But
Yes, absolutely.
But overall, I kind of see it as that in their country, they're still a lot more mature about dealing with these issues than we are. Even if sometimes not everyone in that country is mature about it because you have to deal with those stupid laws that happened a few years back. But overall, they seem more mature about dealing with these issues than we are. They're more willing to just let it happen and then just criticize it after. we're just like, oh God, think of the children about a porn game that children will never play. Think of the adults.
Shouldn't be playing, and if
Think
they
of
end
the
up playing, you should
think
be
think of
asking
the
Jimmy, why did you let little Billy play the hentai game?
think of the right
But
thinking of
honey,
thoughts.
he stole it from me.
Think of the right thinking of thoughts. Okay, if you're 18 years old, I'm not trying to say that you don't have, a lot of people will say when you're suddenly a certain age, oh, you're automatically an adult or something like that. That's not how it works. Sometimes you aren't that mature of dealing with things. But at the same time, I kind of feel like people should know better about themselves. You can't just say something will influence people to do a thing and blame the thing that influenced them instead of talking about the people that did it. Like, the game didn't teach
Nah,
you to rape. You just went and raped.
th- this is a thing that you see over and over again is the idea that uh, uh, provocative. I'm going to use the general term provocative art.
Yeah.
Provocative art will influence bad actions, and that therefore the art itself is responsible for this. And you
Yeah.
see this argument made. A lot of people will blame specific political views for this. No, this argument is made across the political spectrum. You will see people arguing that specific people observing or consuming specific portrayals of things will make them act it out, like kind of a monkey see, monkey do argument. Uh, or the more generalized form that you see increasingly these days is if people consume this media, they will internalize the idea that society is structured in a specific way, which is again something that isn't proved at all either. But yeah, I mean, it it doesn't make any sense. There's nothing to prove that, and I've often said that I tend to fall on the side of being the free speech absolutist. Uh,
Mhm.
I don't. I see much more harm in almost every case in limiting free expression than the harm done by what is being expressed. And in this case, yeah, it's a case of culture clash, pretty much. And a lot of the things that people are saying that these hentai novels and things will influence people to do are not problems that Japanese culture seems to have. So,
Yeah.
uh,
I mean, yeah, that's an interesting thing. I didn't think about that. I mean, like, you got a lot of sexualization of younger or children characters in Japan, but what's their child molestation rates? What's their
it's
uh
low. They have very low rates for a lot of those
I
things.
think I think we have a bigger problem with that here than with sexual predators than they do in Japan. I have a
Yeah, I mean,
feeling.
Yeah.
it's not one to one. You can't just say that and say that like there's some kind of causal link there. There are cultural differences that might explain that.
Mhm.
However, it does say to me at least that consuming this type of media doesn't have such a radical causal effect that it's something that we need to be worried about.
Yeah, exactly.
Woo.
I'm my hope for the future is that people start to slowly start to get more mature, but it just seems like people are getting more immature. So it's crazy. I try to hope for that, but uh, people, it's not a big deal. That thing that exists that you might find offensive isn't really going to hurt anyone, unless it breaks out of its chains and comes after you. If that offensive thing comes to hunt you down, then then you have a problem. All right, let's move on because then we'll be talking to
Shall
Jay.
we add the person?
What the hell was that?
Check the chat, Grem.
All right. Give me a second. Give me a second. Give me a second. Give me a second. I added names, but I was adding names, and now I had to go check. This is why I kind of hate Google's ability to live stream, because it has its inability to easily move me
Would you
to the
just like me
chat.
to add?
And my
Would you like me
computer's
to
my
just
computer's
add
having
Sale?
a fit. I
I
apologize.
meant the Skype chat.
The stack chat?
Yeah.
The Skype
The
chat?
Skype chat.
Oh.
Yes.
Should we? Oh, Fuzztail wants to come in. Hey, Gremlin, Fuzztail wants to join. Do you want to let him in?
As well.
Sure. Let's do it. Let's add Fuzztail.
All right, let's do
There,
this
I just
thing.
sent it to her. She can join us for Konami.
Surprise guest! Boom, 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 boom! Lady Fuzztail.
Dun, 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 dun. As soon as
Cue
she
music.
answers.
Anytime now.
Nope.
Oh,
Right
come
now.
on, Fuzz.
Let's try it again. How many times before it counts as
I was-
spamming?
I was getting pumped. I was getting pumped with my DJing over here. My lame ass DJ. Come on,
All I can think of is the Skype ring sound.
the ring sound.
Nope, doesn't look like looks
Doesn't
like
look
we're gonna have
he's
to
getting
wait.
in. What's wrong
Yeah,
with
we
Fuzztail?
might have to.
I
Weird.
apologize, chat, for the technical difficulties of we trying to F us. Okay, what's going on? Why can't Fuzztail
we'll
get in?
see. Fuzztail's probably just AFK. So
Yeah.
we will continue, and I will
Mhm.
add them when I notice that they're no longer
Yeah, right.
AFK.
Okay. All right. On to next news. On to future news.
Game of the year, Metal Gear Solid 5.
Konami thinks it can get Metal Gear Solid 5 to be Game of the Year. Guess what, Konami? You are fucking right, because every shitty game website is gonna make it Game of the fucking Year.
That's true.
Because you paid.
They have seen into the future. This is the point. This. I don't think this is Konami being arrogant at all. I literally think they have psychics on hand, prophets on hand, who scribble violently on pieces of paper, and they decipher the scribblings to be accurate to their I'm sorry.
What they did is they took Castlevania and what was that other series that they made a pachinko machine
Silent
out
Hill.
of? Silent Hill. They took
Silent Hill.
Silent Hill and they took Castlevania and they killed both franchise and they took out their entrails and they used their entrails to tell the future, and that told them that this was going to be a game of the year.
Okay, who keeps crankling their diaper on the podcast? Who's crankling
noticed that
diapers? I need to know
Oh,
this. I'm
okay.
sorry for breaking the subject real quick. I need to know who's doing this. Where's all this cracking coming from?
It was a cat.
It was a
Tell
cat.
that cat to go outside and get itself a real job. I'm pretty sure
Catching mice.
YouTube likes cats, so it can get a job on there. You know, it's Kota. It's Kota. It's your mic, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Let me mute myself and you tell me.
All right, let's see. Testing 1 2.
Testing. 1, 2.
Why am I testing?
1, 2.
Yeah, it might be. It might
It's
be
Kota.
the
I knew it.
yeah.
Kota, your
I
mic
think-
is shit.
Well,
It's still shit.
Koda did put on this headset that Koda said his wait,
The mic
did
on
that
is
just
going
crackle?
out.
Hey, chat,
Yeah,
if you're
yeah.
willing to donate a perfectly good mic, send it to Kota. Please.
Koda currently has 2 microphones. One microphone puts like a good decent amount of decibels of constant white noise into the stream. The other
I
one
need
is a
donate
headset.
too.
Yeah, the other one is a headset with a loose wire that either cuts in and out constantly or cuts in and out at such a rapid rate that you get these wonderful someone opening a bag of crisps right in front of the microphone sound. So anything. I went and scoped out some mics on Amazon recently, and I found that you can get some condenser mics that might be within our price range uh, uh, of our limited podcast budget. So
Yes.
anything anyone could do to help make that budget actually exist.
Feel free. I'll open up a Patreon later, and then I can talk about how oppressed I am, and see where we can.
Okay, back to Konami. Back to Konami, please.
Okay, back to Konami. Back on subject. All right, Konami. Konami has profits on hand because that's the only thing they're good for. To reach into the future and say that Metal Gear Solid will be Game of the Year because we know it's going to happen. Let's be real. Let's be real. The response shouldn't be "fuck you, Konami." The response should be, "We know, Konami. We know." God,
Yes.
it was guaranteed Game of the Year before the game was even released.
Yep.
It was guaranteed
Because
Game of the Year the moment it said
Metal Gear Solid.
produced by Hideo Kojima, and then was immediately stripped of that moniker. This shit was gonna happen. It was gonna happen.
Yeah.
Konami isn't terrible right now for this piece of news. They're only half terrible. Okay, they're full terrible, but
Well, the funny thing is they really aren't hedging their bets. They're taking every action that they can possible to make sure that they do get the right coverage from the right publications.
yeah,
Which is
I
a
expect
rather
that.
controversial thing, really.
I think a lot of publications will be light on Metal Gear Solid 5 simply because of Hideo Kojima's involvement.
Well, did you hear about the review event?
Oh yes. Let's talk
Oh,
about
The
that.
review camps. The review camps.
Oh,
So there's been a lot of attention recently to conflicts of interest between indie devs and journalists, right? I somewhat think that the journalists uh, question people's motivations about this so much because some of them are thinking, wait, why are they complaining about these little, $100 conflicts of interest we have with an indie dev who donated that money to us? Why are they complaining about that? We have all these massive AAA BS things where they're sending us to private resorts and fancy stuff, and that's much bigger of a problem than this. Why are people complaining about that? Well, obviously, the reason why they're not complaining about that is because they keep it completely hush hush most of the time, unless someone decides to talk about it who is involved. But that's why I somewhat think that these games journalists are like, why are all these game managers complaining about these little tiny problems when we've why are they complaining about this nasty smell in the kitchen when we've got we've got a massive dump in the middle of the living room.
I walked past it. I never cleaned it up. It smells really bad.
Graham,
I've been told
maybe
I
you
should
need
do
to
something
fix
about
that.
that. Oh my god. What the hell? This isn't good.
Just so you know, to tie this back into Konami, they basically what happened is Konami had a review event, for all the people who are going to review their game. They didn't want to follow the usual procedure of sending them a review copy, putting an NDA and an embargo on it so that it was a level playing field and they would all release at the same time so that people weren't rushing through to play the game as fast as possible. They didn't do all of that. Yeah, the usual procedure, which I know there's a lot of complaints about embargoes, but really it does keep reviewers from playing the game too fast in order to be the first to get out. And as long as the embargo lifts before the release date, because any other way is just scummy. All right, it's the compromise we have to deal with. Konami was like, no, we're not going to do any of that usual stuff. What we're going to do is we're going to get all the games journalists who are going to review this, we're going to have access to it. We're going to fly them out to a special event. We're going to give them all nice hotel rooms, and then they're going to come in and they're going to play this game. They're going to play Metal Gear Solid.
That isn't a conflict of interest at all.
Yeah, but that's not all. Not only are they going to play Metal Gear Solid, they're going to play Metal Gear Solid while perpetually supervised by our PR department. Not only are they going to be perpetually supervised by our PR department, but they are also going to be told what parts of the game they should play and what parts of the game that they shouldn't play. Namely, they shouldn't do these certain things because they won't be able to finish the game in time if they do them. Not only that, yes, there's more.
Oh, God.
We're going to allow
Was some
them
of
to
those things broken or something? Huh? Was that it?
We're going to allow them, the journalists, to activate a cheat code so that they can get through the game faster and they can get through the stealth sections without worrying about being discovered. Yes, all of that happened.
A cheat code that disables.
Okay,
need
here's
for
my
stealth.
thing. Here's what I'm gonna say. All right, we all know Konami is terrible, and this is one of many terrible things that they've done. All right. Well, right now, I don't feel like talking about Konami right now for a second. Right now, I feel like talking about the journalists who went. You know what would be great if I went out and participated in this event, and then I complained to people that I participated in this event.
Yeah, well, Konami kind of has them over a barrel though with that. It's basically either you participate in the event in the exact way that we choose, or you get to be the last magazine to have a review. Your choice. I mean,
If game journalists want to be considered hard hitting, if they want to be considered special, professional, maybe they should give Konami a big fat middle finger, tell it to go fuck itself, and then wait for them to decide to go buy the game. You're a big publication. You're a big guy.
well, I think part of the reason is a lot of people are anticipating that games journalists will be like investigative journalists. Because if I was a journalist and I was told about this huge review event, my article would not be on the game itself because I wouldn't go to the freaking review event. My article would be on the review event itself. I would interview people who went there, and I would publish it, and I would publish it scandal style, right? Because I want those clicks. I'd put a nice big clickbait headline on it.
Right.
Konami puts up journalists in hotels to play a game.
Yeah, that's not what these journalists are considering their role to be, in my opinion. What I think is they think they are operating under the assumption that they are an extension of PR. And this is a huge problem. People don't point this out. Remember Game Journal Pros?
Yeah.
There was PR for Riot Games in Game Journal Pros talking to the journalists directly. And disclosure was forbidden because there was an off-the-record agreement that anything that was said in Game Journal Pros would be off the record. People don't bring that up very often. There was PR in Game Journal Pros talking with the journalists like they were buddy-buddy. So these games journalists are all acting like they are a PR extension of the games companies. They're not acting like investigative journalists. They're acting like hype machines. And this is a problem.
I think this isn't just like something that a certain hashtag is pointed out. This is something that a large group of people have pointed out that
yes.
That it seems like that websites are glorified. This is the main reason why, and I hate to justify it, but this is the main reason why you have a lot of more culture critics and feminism and stuff in game websites, because they're trying to make themselves seem less like a big giant PR shilling company thing. Problem is, they do a terrible job of that. And we already know IGN's a joke, and we already knew that IGN would participate. But I was a little bit surprised that Destructoid would participate a little bit. Mostly because I kind of seen them as a group that would be kind of against that sort of thing. But I guess I was wrong. I guess they're willing to shield for Konami bucks too.
Yep, this is an industry problem, and this is a problem that will crop up again and again and again, and that is surprisingly difficult to talk about. What,
Yeah.
and I'm not just talking about because of that hashtag. It's surprisingly difficult to talk about even using that hashtag.
Hmm.
Huh? Isn't that something unusual?
It's weird.
It's surprisingly difficult to talk about with the hashtag or without it.
Exactly.
Bizarre.
Yes.
So, anyway, it's not something that I'm going to shut up about. It's something that I'm going to keep talking about every time I see these big review events crop up with all these shenanigans going on. So,
It's
Yeah.
it's
Keep
annoying.
talking.
It's annoying. I kind of feel like it's the journalist's fault. I mean, we already know Konami shit, and this is one of their them doing a shitty thing. But I kind of feel like if you are going to go, you know what, I am going to do this thing, even though it's a huge conflict of interest because I want free stuff or I want to be the first to do this or something like that. Sometimes you got to make some sacrifices. Your readers will understand. Readers already understand. How many readers are breaking their necks to go read the reviews of created by guys who went to a hotel and had a Konami supervisor monitoring them while they review a game? Does that sound like that sounds like a perfectly helpful review to tell you whether or not this game is good or not? I don't think so.
Sounds like the perfect kind of review to me.
I don't trust that. You have to be an idiot, or you just have to be ill-informed. You have to be very ill-informed to just go and read something like that. I have a feeling that they didn't get much clicks on this. I would hope they didn't get much clicks on this, but then again, people don't know a lot about this stuff too. So
yeah, Eh, it's kind of sad.
it's
But
really
at least
sad.
At least,
it makes me okay. It makes me even more concerned when Konami is saying things about this is guaranteed to be game of the year while playing this backyard baseball at the same time.
Yeah, I and you're right
we're
about one
guaranteed
thing.
to win the championship.
I don't get why these journalists who participate in this don't just like I don't you know what I would do? You know what I'd do if I was in a journalist position and I've never heard of these hotels before? I would participate on the grounds that I would reveal every fucking thing about it. I mean
Yep. Well,
sure it probably blacklists me for Konami if I did do that. But
yeah, they have a lot of pressure.
I feel like that
Uh,
is something that would be a natural sacrifice in order to show people anti-consumer practices.
yeah. Well, an example I like to use is Jim Sterling. I'm
Yeah.
not a huge fan of Jim Sterling. Uh, for various reasons.
Hmm.
His somewhat condescending style gets on my nerves. Anyway, he was recently denied review copies for something.
Hmm.
That is a power that is held over all the journalists' head.
Yeah.
If you, he, to be fair to Jim Sterling, he is hard on AAA publishers sometimes. He does act like a consumer advocate sometimes,
Yeah.
and for that, he got a review copy of a game withheld from him.
Hmm.
That isn't right.
That is
That's
not
a
right.
problem.
That is a problem. And
That is a very big problem.
I feel like, and this is kind of reason why I don't really completely and utterly hate Jim Sterling because I feel like that's a necessary sacrifice for at least one or two journalists to go about doing that. That if I ever was a game journalist, I would not have a problem with being blacklisted if there was something really detrimental or important to to reveal or talk about. But
We used to
we're
have a person that we would trust to talk about that.
yeah.
Eric Kane from Forbes, right? He
Hmm.
was the one who would always talk about all the weird stuff that was going on, and because,
Hmm.
well, if I recall, he came from a background where that wasn't really the norm, and then he moved on to games journalism, where it seemed very bizarre. So I would be interested to see if he goes back to talking about that type
Hey,
of thing.
Kota, send
Yep.
Fustel and put Fustel in when she asks.
Yeah, I tried
Uh,
sending it to her again. no chance. Man, no.
She said her
responding.
computer crashed. In the
To,
big chat. In the big chat, she said, "Sorry, PC crash."
Okay.
I'll give it
move to the
another
next
shot.
topic.
Oh, you don't want
What
to
was
move
that?
on to the next topic, or you want to still talk about Konami?
Star Fox.
So what?
Stop talking about
Star Fox.
Konami
Oh
switching
yeah, you want to talk
Star
about
Fox?
Star Fox? Oh, this is in furry news. All right, we're moving on to furry news. Let's get this over with. Let's get
I
this
guess we're done
over
with
with.
Konami.
Yes, this is the furry portion. Are you ready for fur faggotry? Mountains of fur faggotry as far as the eye can see. As far as the moon and the stars. Murray Purry. Paws everywhere.
Oh my
Perfect.
gosh.
Perfect. All you can see.
Furries as far as you can see. Talking animals. We're probably not going to talk about the more creepier fetishes, but you know, we're not going to talk about fetishes anyway. But unless
Anyway.
somebody wants to talk about it. But okay. First piece of news. Star Fox is launching November 30. I've seen gameplay of it. It doesn't have me excited. I heard about I've heard about
You
some
went
started
from
out.
I'm gonna get
you
my
went from
piece out the
so
way and then let
excited
Q
and
talk about
now blah,
it. Like,
whatever.
okay,
I don't give a shit.
it started out from what I heard, Platinum's making it, right? Or at least a studio connected to Platinum, right? I know Platinum's involved in some way or fashion for. And I was like, Platinum games. I like Platinum games. I like games that come from Platinum. So maybe this will be a good thing. So I'm looking at gameplay of this thing, and I'm kind of underwhelmed. Uh, there's a lot of stuff in it that isn't really all that interesting. They were showing gameplay of a new plane or something like that, and you're kind of doing this mission. I had no idea what the mission was, but you were controlling this little robot, which looks like Rob. Uh, and it was very slow and boring. You're just sort of kind of navigating from these like lights to make sure you don't get blown up or something like that. And I've seen the actual flight. I skipped to the actual flight gameplay because I was like, I just don't want to sit through this. Uh, uh, there was this gameplay video and they were trying to get themselves killed. They were actually trying to get themselves killed. Does that mean the game is going to be
Easy?
untotally easy? I'm
I certainly
no
hope
idea.
not.
Maybe they just
I-
wanted to show off the deaths.
I want to hear what Q want to talk
So-
about because I know Q was excited about talking about Star Fox.
Yeah, my pretty much my Star Fox experiences began and ended with Star Fox 64. And if they make it disappointingly easy, that's going to be very disappointing because to progress along the good ending path in Star Fox 64 was it was not easy at all because you had to do just the right things in every single level to get along that path, and that path had the hardest levels and the hardest things that you had to try and accomplish, and then you finally got to the final proper boss. I don't think I ever actually made it before I had to switch the console off because it was a game that you had to play in one sitting. You couldn't pause and then pick it up. If you wanted to go from the beginning to the end, you were in for the long haul, and it was hard. So if they make it incredibly easy, it would be a sad cue.
Hopefully they will not. But yeah, there's new artwork out for this cover art.
Oh,
It does look very nice though.
yeah, I like the art. You know, it's
I
something you
love
expect,
it.
but I'm just not excited. Okay, Q. Yeah, Q. I mean, Professor Q. Go ahead and tell us your piece.
The only thing I can say right now is that probably another Star Fox game. Finally! I'm loving it right now. I can't wait to play it right now. The only part I'm worried about is the multiplayer. I heard some kind of rumors about there's no online play or something.
I,
Anybody know
I,
about that?
I don't got very
only
much
local?
information about it actually. I guess because when I saw the gameplay, I was like, I am not that interested in this. So I've been neglecting on learning more about any of the content within the game, unfortunately.
Mm,
But you know, I really a part of me, I like Star Fox, and my last Star Fox game was Star Fox 64. It's the last time, man. That's the last time both of us played it. I wanted to play Star Fox Assault in some of the
I've
later
never really
games.
played a Star
No,
Fox
the
game.
last Star Fox game I played was Star Fox Adventures, and that was magical. That was a magical piece of shit. But
Yeah, every time I try and watch a Let's Play of that, I get to the part where the enemies are using Doom stock sound effects, and I just stop there. It's like, I can't take this anymore.
What, you mean you can't stand Dinosaur Island and everyone's new favorite furry waifu, Crystal?
I like Crystal.
I like
She's
Crystal.
lovely.
Yeah.
But
I love Crystal.
the game itself. I tried to watch a playthrough of it because I didn't get very far in it. I got kind of far in it, and I was like, you know what, I'll sit through this. But I'm realizing it's very boring to watch. It's a very boring Zelda-like game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of wish they gave him his blaster. That would probably liven things up. But it was based off an entirely different game. So
Well, it was an
Blood
entirely
Arrow
different
played
game
Star
that
Fox.
was turned into a Star Fox game.
yeah. Y'all can talk about the next piece of news about Tooth and Tail, and we can get on to the new to our new wait. Oh, we got a ton of news to talk about. I'll be right back. Kota, moderate.
Yeah. Okay. Well, just me and Professor now for the moment. So, if you look through the section, there is a new game being developed. It's an RTS called Tooth and Tail. It
I
is
love
a
RTS.
Yep, I loved them too. RTS with sprite. Now this is very retro, and it's an indie game. Whole premise is
Hey guys,
kind
I'm
of
gonna have to
a-
drop out of the call for a little bit. I'll see you later.
Okay.
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 That's awkward.
Anyway, yeah. As I was saying, sprites kind of Victorian era styled, and all the units are animal themed. From a warthog with a flamethrower, a grenader that's skunk, some paratrooper bird, a assassin-looking lizard, and this little tiny chicken. I think that might be a medic.
A chicken?
Yeah, there's a chicken in the article.
Oh wow. That's
And-
actually
What?
that's what I want to know.
Now, another interesting thing about the game is they said that they don't want it to be entirely focused on actions per minute, as in, mouse, keyboard and mouse. They are actually designing this game to be controller-based, an a RTS that's controller-based. That would actually be very interesting, since most console-based ones tend to be crap. I would like for them to try and actually have a good working one. You okay, Grim? That's you.
Hey, what the heck?
Yeah. Don't die on us. Hey, you just got back.
That's what you can get
So about-
from this podcast. Me sneezing in the background. So, what are y'all talking about?
Talking about the RTS. It's
And,
gonna be controller focused, solid sprite. All the maps are actually also randomly generated. And they also show some artwork in it.
Let me see. Man, I'm sorry, chat.
Eh.
All right.
By the way, you had to leave
Ooh,
for
I
a
love
minute.
these sprites.
That's the chicken.
These are so well animated.
And the chicken.
Yeah.
Oh, Christ. You see the little skunk and his fluttering tail? Oh, man.
chicken?
Yeah.
This is the
He's
kind
a
of sprite
grenader.
art I live for. I'm gonna push this on a wish list. Is this a Kickstarter?
I don't think. I think it's already had funded. I don't remember. But
That rat is gonna be drawn porn of.
What rat?
Oh, the Commander Hopper.
Oh,
Yes. I have a feeling. I'm feeling we're gonna see more of that character. I have the eye, the porn eye. No.
And then I guess you're gonna contribute to it as well.
These are lovely. Wait, it's on early access. This is some lovely art. I want to put this on a wish list. Yeah.
And it's gonna be controller focused instead of keyboard and mouse.
Ah.
if you get a game,
Set
probably
for
want.
PC 2016.
PC 2016. Nah.
Yep.
I'm pumped for that. I'm ready for that. I'm gonna look in more to that. I don't play a lot of RTSs. I don't play any at all. But this is my aesthetic. This is what I live for. All right. Let's see.
Hey, I play a lot of RTSs. So if you're looking for someone to play against, I'll do it. I'm really bad at them though.
Oh,
so
okay.
I love RTSs.
But
so
crud.
They're going to introduce Grem to RTSs.
Crud. Oh, this podcast might go on a little bit longer because we have a lot of very good topics today. A lot of very good topics, and
I love
two of the
RTS.
topics aren't fur related. Man, Pokken Tournament is coming out for the Wii U.
Heck yeah.
Main reason to get a Wii U.
Then we talk about this last podcast though.
Huh?
Did something new happen?
We did talk about this last podcast.
Yeah, we talked about that. Okay, two piece of news isn't furry news, so I could go straight to talking about Freedom Planet. What y'all think about the schedule looking with this? Okay, we got YouTube gaming launches and something we found on 8chan.
Yeah.
YouTube gaming launches and something we found on 8chan.
Okay.
YouTube gaming launches.
Yeah, we got like another hour or so.
Okay, good.
And in case if you want to go over.
Okay, let's go quickly over YouTube gaming launches. I don't really think it's really all that interesting to me, but it could be interesting in the future. YouTube gaming launches. It could be a killer app that kills Twitch or not. We don't know. This is YouTube, so they might flag videos for certain pieces of music and stuff. Some people were upset by this. You probably can't stream Nintendo games still, but you couldn't do it on Twitch either, so I don't know. But
on Twitch either.
YouTube gaming launches could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. I checked it. It looks like it has some interesting features that Twitch didn't have. So this is one I was waiting to see.
All the streams are running in HD.
Yeah.
And at 60 frames per second as well.
Yeah.
That would totally kill my internet connection. My internet connection would just be dead by that.
Well, I guess you're stuck with lame old Twitch.
I thought about doing video game streaming on Twitch or YouTube, but I'm not cool enough. No, but I thought about it, just talk about art and shit. But okay, on to this piece of 8chan news that Kotas brought up to me that QQ could also talk about. Steam Spy.
Oh, damn it.
Steam Spy's Twitter account.
Dead.
So what? Oh, the thread is dead? Oh, that sucks. Steam Spy's Twitter account. And I'm going by what I remember. I should have archived the thread.
I'll try and pull out.
Steam Spy's Twitter account was talking about an indie game crash. Because as it said, indie games aren't very profitable on Steam. Somebody needs to look that up for me.
No, they are oversaturated.
Yes.
Yeah, the issue
there was more and more coming out every month.
Yeah, they are seeing like exponential growth, like, X number of games comes out one time, like double that comes out the next time, double that comes out the next time, double that comes out the next time. Basically, the market is being completely saturated, and the customer base is not growing at that rate.
That sounds bad. Because, well, actually, no. Actually, I want this to happen a little bit. I partially want this to happen because it might be able to give a wake up call to a lot of terrible indie developers. But at the same time, I also kind of don't want it to happen. But I'm at the same time, I'm at the mind where it's something that's inevitable and probably should happen for the sake of trying to you know. But I don't like to go off of speculation based off of numbers or something like that. This could be a big issue. It could be a non-issue. No one knows until a crash, until it becomes like something that might really, really happen. Right now, we're just looking at numbers, and it's looking kind of iffy. But what's your thoughts on it?
I think we have an issue right now where we have a class of games that I would describe as pseudo indie.
Yep.
And what that is it's a quote unquote indie game, but a lot of money is thrown into it, and a large team is working on it, and they might even have the backing from a publisher.
Yep.
I think that we're going to start seeing the issue there first, where one of those pseudo indies is going to release a game and they sell what would be an astronomical amount of copies for a normal indie game, but they make negative profit. Like they're way in the red because they are expecting AAA style sales because that's what the indie market was like for a while, right? You could put out an indie game and sell tons and tons of copies. I think we're going to see that section crash
Budget
first.
of 1,000, get 10 billion.
Yeah. I had a feeling that was going to happen sooner or later because indie is no longer it's slowly starting to become no longer like a designation for just having an independent studio and more like a style of game making. And I feel like that's going to really bite a whole bunch of people in the ass in the future.
A lot of the indie studios are actually not really indie anymore. I mean, like, come on, take a look at Double Fine. It is a triple A by any standard, but they still call themselves indie.
Yeah.
And you do have the oversaturation from all different types of games, from not only the early access that's constantly getting flooded and overkilled for the market that watches these games on Twitch, and a lot of these games are also not even finished. Yay!
Oh, he's back.
High
Yes!
five.
Yes! Fuzztail's here to lend her
Finally.
beautiful knowledge to the chats.
I don't know
Yay.
what happened. It's like I used Krita and then exploded the RAM usage to the point where physical memory and swap usage was maxed out. So I had to cut the power and restart the computer. But during the start of the computer, right, the physical memory was at 100% for a while.
Damn.
And so it took me like this long for it to just settle down.
Damn.
I know.
But okay, we're talking about Steam Spy and a possibility of an indie crash, and the discussion we're talking about is that it's possible that the large pseudo indie studios, the studios that have the money of a AAA company, but are making indie games or indie style games, might be the first to get hit by this big giant indie crash because the market is becoming oversaturated with too many of these kinds of games. I think, and
I agree.
Yeah. Here's my issue on it, and I just realized something. A lot of indie games have gotten to a point where they are starting to have a particular uniform style, and a lot of indie developers are sticking to that style instead of doing what it was there, or what the point of indie gaming is to create new experiences or create or take something that was old and like develop it into something a little more
New.
new.
Revive
Like
it.
I've
they're
read this
stuck in a
article. I read this article about pixel art, and one of the things said in it was that a lot of time back then, pixel art was something that was be based off a limitation of system. Now it's just style, and I kind of feel like it's becoming oversaturated with that style instead of developers, I don't know, make a HD 2D platformer with beautiful animation, not pixelated animation, and that you are basically
Masake.
creating the evolution of a 2D platformer by building like Dust, the Unleashed
Oh
Tale.
yes, yeah.
Yes.
I do think
Yeah.
I do think that if they have the budget and they have the tech right, then they should definitely take advantage of it. I mean, there really is no
Yeah.
point in downgrading to that kind of level just to pander to the nostalgia audience.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, a lot of those games are pretty shallow if you get past the idea that they're retro style.
Yeah. Um uh I'm
And
getting
lately, a lot of the quote unquote retro indie games, they they're made by a lot of people who think of what retro might have meant without actually playing them. Like in that thread, one that you found a archive of now, it shows an image. You have comparison between a natural retro and a indie retro. The indie retro is just nothing but very bad, very pixely, barely can tell what is going on. And then you have the actual retro, where very crisp, very clean, lovely detail everywhere.
yeah.
You
I'm
put you see lots of love put into it.
I've been getting to this point. I've had this weird mentality, and I hate to think this way, but I've had this weird mentality lately when I go to buy new games on Steam or new indie games. I've been steering clear of a lot of games that look 8-bit, whether or not the game is good or not. Mostly because I'm getting sick of it. Uh, the only game I truly enjoy that has an 8-bit aesthetic has been Shovel Knight. Otherwise, I would have been searching a lot for games that look more 16-bit or look more like something that looks like a character on the screen and not a pile of squares shoved together
Well,
to make
Yes,
a
yeah,
yes.
Shovel
human form.
I think
Shovel
Shovel
Knight
Knight
actually
works
did
because its gameplay is very, very solid.
Yeah,
And
I'm
it
really
actually
digging it too.
yeah.
understands why the NES games were so good and actually takes advantage of the modern technology to bring those concepts together. And in fact, reading an article of it right a while back, I don't remember what it is, right? But they talk about the limitations that they worked with and how much they actually cheated in order to make the game look better than it would if it was on an NES.
Hmm.
Shovel
It
Knight
actually
was
does
one of the
look like it's
few.
built better than it would be on 8-bit, to be fair.
No, what they did is they actually studied the limitations of the NES when they made Shovel Knight, and they everything from the style of parallax scrolling that was done on NES games to the number of colors per sprite chunk that were allowed in NES games, everything. They studied all of that, and they determined which limitations they thought were essential and which limitations that they were going to throw out and make it look prettier. And they made a decision like that on a case-by-case basis. And then they did the thing that a lot of these games nowadays are not doing. So here's just a question I'm going to toss out there. Why do people still like the old NES Mega Man games? To the point where when they came out with Mega Man 9 and 10 in post year 2000, people still like those, even though it kept the retro aesthetic. And the answer is because the controls were rock solid, the gameplay was rock solid, they were good games. It wasn't because
And it had
they
good
looked a
level
certain
design.
way. Oh, they had great
Yeah.
level design, and that was even
Yeah.
with the limitations of
Yeah.
every single level was either horizontal scrolling or vertical scrolling. Even within
Yeah.
that level, that limitation, they came up with a great level design.
And
I also
you know,
think that the boss designs are quite good in 9 and 10.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what
At least they look cool.
Shovel Knight understood is that you can't just have the aesthetic. You need to have that tight of a gameplay in order to be a good game. You need to have that controls that are that good.
I kind of feel like, you know, as an artist, and I want to make video games. I kind of feel like I don't think I've been that interested in doing anything would be overly. There's some certain games where the pixelation, yeah, like you said, pixelation works, but I've been very interested in wanting to do or play to create or play more games that are uh more HD looking, more like animated cartoons, more like the stuff that WayForward has put out for Shantae Half Genie
Shantae.
Hero and DuckTales. More like
I would like to
that.
say that. I would like to say that when it comes to first-person shooters, though, I kind of miss the aesthetic of sprite-based 2.5D shooting, like pseudo 3D kind of projection.
Mhm.
Because those limitations really lend themselves well to extremely maze-like level design, and basically it lets the level designer go crazy with the layout, because they don't have to worry too much about how it looks.
Yeah, that was so Doom actually had an interesting idea in that you're eating chips again, Coda.
Yeah.
Doom had
Stupid
the
mic.
interesting idea of how how Doom levels are designed is they are laid out two-dimensionally. So you will never see in Doom unless you're using a modern source port that supports the feature, you will never see a room on top of another room because the levels are laid out two-dimensionally with a height map that says how high the ceiling is and how high the floor is. And it actually let you dynamically adjust that height map on the fly with a limited amount of scripting, and that's how like things like elevators and buttons that extend stairways and things like that. It was very limited, but they really took advantage of that. And then Duke Nukem 3D came out, which was using the build engine, which actually used a sector-based thing, which did allow rooms to exist above other rooms. But not only that, it actually allowed rooms to exist in the same place as another room.
And since
So
Doom Nukem 3D is designed with the philosophy still stuck on the Doom era, right? It led to some of the best level designs ever made on an FPS, next to Shadow Warrior and Blood.
Oh yeah, they came up with some. They actually had in Duke Nukem 3D, you go around a circle that is more than 360 degrees.
Yep.
In other words, the
non-Euclidean
circle.
space.
Yes, the circle doubles around, and you start occupying the same space that you occupied previously, but it's a different space because the engine allowed for that. And
You can always. I think you already can do that with the Doom engine, but it takes a lot of like sacrifices. Like you have to handle like teleport lines in a way, with silent
Yes.
teleports, portals. Actually, I think that the Eternity engine is better for that since it has a much more seamless portal kind of function.
yeah, the modern source ports of Doom added a way to define sectors where you can say that this wall opens up to this wall, and similar to how Duke Nukem did everything. So you can actually create non-Euclidean spaces and rooms on top of rooms in modern versions of the Doom engine, modern source ports. But yeah, we're kind of indie gaming is kind of stuck in this era where very few games advance like to the point of looking anything past SNES. I would say you don't even have anything that quite looks like Genesis, with one notable exception, which we'll get to shortly. And you definitely don't see anything that looks like early PlayStation or N64 when they're first starting to experiment with 3D.
I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah, and the
reason I
bizarre
mentioned-
because
And the reason I mention it is because a lot of the retro like FPS offerings that today, right, what you see is a little more than a bunch of corridors and and boxy rooms, right? And it really is really a shame because with the engine they did and the aesthetics, right, they really could go a lot more further than what they did, and yet they decided to take this lazy road, right, just so they can flog the hell out of the whole retro shooter kind of aesthetic without putting in any actual effort into it to make the level design resemble a retro shooter.
Yeah. It's
Yep.
it's depressing. That's why I kind of hope it does happen, and maybe people will go, wake up. Because I think the problem is, I think the issue is, indie is still a very new. Well, I wouldn't say it's new now. It's getting to the point where it's going to slowly get to this. It's becoming monotonous, but indies think they are new. That's what it is. Indies think that their thing is very new, and are still trying to push into this mindset. They kind of feel like what they're doing is unique when it's not really all that unique. So I think
So you would
that's
say they kind of feel fish.
yes, they kind of feel
Or
fish.
Braid with its hairy Goombas and
Yeah.
time travel.
Yeah,
That's-
it's one of those things where you see two things that came out that actually went further, right? You saw A Hat in Time and you saw Ukulele. And they were like,
Mhm.
okay, we're kind of indie, but we're going to go a little bit further than the other indies did in time. We're going to go into the early exploration platformer days. And they were huge successes on their Kickstarter. So there's obviously a demand for just pushing the boundaries a little bit further. We'll have to see if that catches on.
No,
Wait, you know what is interesting, right? That a lot of the games that are considered indie, like Bray and Mighty Number 9, right? They have budgets that are already like far breaking the $1 million line, and yet we see Serious Sam 3 who don't even consider themselves indie, right? Crow Team, they don't consider themselves indie anymore because they have a proper publisher. You know what's the budget of Serious Sam 3?
What?
950,000.
they got an
That is
indie
a
budget.
lot less. That is a lot less than
And-
Mighty Number 9.
Yeah, and that was Serious Sam 3 was a blast.
Yeah,
And
especially
Mighty
when you
Number
mod it.
9, oh,
They can
Mighty
get
Number
Especially when you
9
install
some serious
mods that
stuff.
make the levels more. Yeah, especially when you install mods that makes the levels more hectic, right? Like there's this mod going around called BFE Enhanced, which adds more enemies and adds more weapon pickups. So basically, the game, right, it racks up the action a lot more quicker with that mod, and it's a lot of fun to play through.
That's rather interesting.
with
And-
3,
That's
did-
also. You first.
Yes?
Why is there a baby crying in the background?
No, that's my cat.
I heard.
I accidentally linked in the
Uh,
podcast discussion chat.
Oh, I forgot.
With 3
let me.
they recalled what made 1 and 2 so awesome, and they decided to go in the direction of, instead of let's make this game into a modern FPS, let's take what made 1 and 2 so awesome and push it further. So they made more vast sprawling levels, more enemies coming at you at once, more action packed, crazy shoot 'em up stuff. They didn't go, we'll take our old IP and just turn it into a modern shooter. No, they knew what their audience were and they pushed it in the right direction, in my opinion.
Serious Sound always reminded me of what if someone made Contra in a first-person shooter.
You mean, what if someone made.
You know, Cuckoo.
Contra
You know,
into
Cuckoo. It's
Duke
actually
Nukem?
interesting that you mentioned that. It's actually interesting that you mentioned Serious Sam 3 not being made into a modern shooter because someone actually made a mod that turned Serious Sam 3 into a COD clone. And yes, it is as bad as you imagine.
Ugh.
That is hilarious.
Has anyone made a
And they
Contra
did it-
mod to it yet?
No.
I would like
But
to
someone,
see
but someone made a Kusoge mod out of it called Serious Horse Sam, and it's fucking hilarious.
Eh.
that.
So, anyway, on to Freedom Planet.
Oh.
Oh god, yes.
Yeah,
Freedom Planet is
I
awesome.
need the music. I need music. Y'all can't hear it. They can only hear it on my side.
Okay.
So we have a new section, everybody. It's called Commercial Hits. I had a intro plan like I had earlier, and I'm completely botching it right now. But
Yeah.
again, I suck at this. But luckily, we're gonna start talking a lot about Freedom Plan because this podcast is about furry things. We don't want you to forget about it. So,
Perfectry. As far as
who wants to start this off?
Me.
So I think we can
I want to
actually
start up.
go.
I want to start
Okay,
up by
go on.
saying that the soundtrack is fucking amazing, and it's made by someone who happens to be a friend of mine called Leela Wilson, aka Woofle on Weasel. Yeah, you should check her music out on Weasel because her music is pretty amazing.
She's one of my current fave composers. I have a friend that knows her, but I don't think I ever talked to Woofle. I think I did, maybe once. Fa. I mean, seriously though,
like,
small
Joseph,
world
did
because
you
she's managed to get she's managed to get a lot of gigs lately, or at least she's trying to get a lot of gigs. I don't know how many games she's worked on this time. It's been 2, right? This Freedom Planet and Bunny Must Die or something like that.
Yeah,
Come on,
I think
help
we
me
should
out
do
here.
that as well.
And you're forgetting Shovel Knight.
What she
I'm
did
pretty
Shovel
sure.
Knight? She did some music in Shovel Knight.
I'm very sure.
I think that's Jake Kaufman.
Yeah, Jake Kaufman is the one that did the music for Shovel Knight.
Yeah.
Okay, I was wrong.
Freedom Planet is probably the best Sonic game ever, to me personally.
Used to be Sonic game.
Personally, to me, Freedom Planet is the best 2D Sonic game ever, which begs the question of whether or not Sega could have ever done anything like this. But God, I lost the question. Okay, all right. Somebody help me, save me.
Well, I actually think this is a good segue from the previous point because what Freedom Planet did that is unique is they went with an aesthetic from a generation later, or 2. I mean, you could say that it's 2 than what most indie games went with.
Yes.
And they did it similar to Shovel Knight. They took the limitations of the system into account, and they took it up a notch. It looks better than what was able to be accomplished on the system that they were inspired by, and it looks fantastic. And not only that, but they improved on everything. The level design is. I used to always like Sonic CD's level design a lot. I thought it was a lot of the levels there were very cleverly designed. They were non-linear progression sometimes, multiple paths through the level. It was very clever. But Freedom Planet, oh my gosh, it improves upon it in every way. They're bigger, they're better. I have no complaints.
I think the thing is, Freedom Planet has a. I think the reason why, to me, it's the best Sonic game ever because it has a lot of things that I kind of wanted in Sonic games, but I kind of knew that Sonic would not be able to pull off, or would be un-Sonic-like. Because it's a little slower than Sonic, and I personally like the fact that it's a little slower, because it's... Here's the thing about Sonic. Sonic is too fast. Alright? In certain games, Sonic is too fast. A lot of fans go like, oh, he's not fast enough. But let's be real here, right? Speed gameplay isn't easy to implement and control properly, especially in later Sonic games like Sonic Unleashed. And a lot of fan game makers will take Sonic and cut his speed cap, because if you don't know already, Sonic has a speed cap in the older Sonic games. There's there's code in place to make sure Sonic doesn't run too fast. And sometimes with game hacks and stuff like that, they cut that code in order to make Sonic run faster. And that doesn't necessarily make him play better for me. And a lot of game hacks and a lot of Sonic fan games, cough Sonic before a sequel. Bad cold. But Sonic after the sequel too. Have very terrible level design. And when you cut the cap, you're trying to like optimize the game to make the game better, but your level design is really shitty. So you're just making Sonic faster, so you'll make the game harder. But
Well, there's the difficulty. You gotta make sure that you control it better.
yeah, and the thing is, Freedom Planet, it's not just the fact that the game is a little bit slower, and I mean a little bit slower, not too slow, but it's that you got more ways to interact with the world than you do with Sonic, because there's a lot of things in Freedom Planet you can never get away with Sonic. And when you think about it, if before Freedom Planet ever like came out, no one would ever even think about getting away with it with Sonic. You got a character who's able to ride around a motorcycle.
Because why not?
Yeah, you got like legit like attacks, not just jumping on an enemy. You have various ways of dealing with the enemies with that. There's a lot more explore options in it, and the thing is, you're not trying to break neck unless you're speedrunning. You're not trying to break neck your way through the stages. The stages are so charming. And that's helped by the music. The music is wonderful. The stage layout and the music is so charming, and the way everything progresses in design, it makes you want to explore and be interested in the world a little more, even if a certain aspect of the game falls short. And I'm going to get into that.
Sometimes, even though yeah, it is charming, or times you end up kind of going, okay, I can't go this way, so you kind of end up having to explore.
But the thing is, Sonic Freedom Planet has something. Has something that I'm gonna tell you about later. But it has something where something that I've kind of hoped would have been consistent in some newer Sonic games, but has kind of fallen short. Lost World is a good example. It has a level design like progression with the narrative, when every stage isn't there for the sake of being a stage. It's not there to be the ice level, the water level, the fire level, or anything like that. Every single stage
The
is
space level.
yeah, every single stage is a cohesive level theme within the world. And I swear, I think the developers were very conscious about that, because you can kind of when you go to one stage into the other, you're not like jumping around across like the entire continent. You're centralized in this world, and they've managed to make it. And and poorly developed, all the levels will look very boring because of that. It would have been like, oh, everything's a boring corridor, gray city, or something like that. But they've managed to make the world interesting. They managed to make each part of the world that you go to interesting and beautiful, while also keeping a cohesive theme. Like certain stages even start. You know the part in the game where you break out of the prison. You start
Yep.
out exploding through this stage, and you're already being and you're attacked by like enemies that are literally like search type enemies searching for you or hunting you down. That's what I like in games. I like level cohesiveness. And the thing about, and what I didn't like about what I didn't like about Sonic Lost World is they didn't have that. They just throw you into every single weird non-descriptive stage you could think of, just for the sake of uniqueness. And I think that in itself, that's why I feel like a lot of platformers, if you're an indie developer out there and you want to make a platformer that'll impress me, make all your stages fit in the universe. because even if their gameplay say they'll look it doesn't break immersion, especially when you're playing with story mode. And to get to the story mode, it's the only part of Freedom Planet that isn't very good.
Sushi? You love sushi too?
I don't know. I'm a fan of NAF, so I enjoyed it.
I Freedom Planet's
Okay.
story. I don't want to be too harsh on it because this is a good game. I've seen praises
To
of
be
it on Twitter
fair,
so much, so I feel obligated not to be a dick about it. This is one of those cases.
to be fair,
Hmm?
this was originally a fan game, so you can expect the story not to be 100% that great.
Yeah, and this is a normal case. In this case, if I didn't like the game, I would have been ripping this story apart. I would have been non unapologetic in my destruction of the dreams of the writer of this story. Because I'm not saying that it's not glorified Sonic fan fiction rewrote to be original, but I'm not saying it's not.
Well, I would compare it to, like, let's say, Sonic Adventure 2 story,
Okay.
because I think that's a fair comparison.
Yeah.
And I have to
Another
say,
Sonic? How could it be two
to this-
Sonics?
to this day, I still do not fully understand Sonic Adventure 2 story.
Me neither.
And the voice acting in Freedom Planet is considerably better than the voice acting in Sonic
Yeah. I can say that. I would say that the voice acting is better, but that's like saying it's not saying much. It's
The
not
bar
saying
isn't
much.
set very high.
If anything, I think they're overacted in Freedom Planet. That's the problem. If Sonic Adventure 2 was kind of like you had a Chaos Emerald, I mean, 2, Chaos Control 2. Fucking I gotta remember a dialogue. You ceased to amaze me, Blue Hedgehog. I thought that captured you and exploded in space. But what you get? I die hard. What you see is
Okay,
what you get. I'm Sonic the Hedgehog. I forgot.
There's actually-
Well, back to a little bit of the level design a little bit for me, because I want to say this. I did love a lot of the levels, and though I kind of wish that they had a little bit more of variation between each character, not just little additional paths that you can possibly do, or maybe even each character have a few more than just one character design for them. I thought that would have been better.
I
So
actually I'm mixed on the art design of the game though. I'll be real. I'm mixed on the sprite and art design. I kind of feel like the sprites are too much like classic Sonic, or too much like a Game Boy Advance Sonic, probably. Um, there's some wonky, and that's probably why the story mode is not looked on fondly, because there's some wonkiness to how when the characters speak and such. It's very much like a my first sprite animation, Newgrounds, to the way they talk and how they animate and stuff. I guess it's Flash. I'm assuming that's what they use, but I it it could be better. The character design is too Sonic-y, and I've been following the Twitter account, and they've asked other artists to do character art for the game. So I'm hoping that if they ever decide to make a sequel, they'll consider being straying a little bit away from the Sonic without breaking the way the game looked. I've seen an artist do. I've seen one of the character designers do character art for it. Uh, I think his name is Tyson Tan or Xvia. He did he was commissioned to do character designs for the characters, and his work, his or her work, was really, 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 really fantastic. So I'm hoping that happens, but the game's story is very Saturday morning cartoon, except it'll punch you in the face with random acts of darkness. Like the
That's a
first
good
time I
way to
saw the
put it.
king get his head cut off.
Yeah, and then later, sleepover.
Oh, yeah. There's
The
a scene
secret
where a character gets.
clubhouse. It's like, between let's go to our secret clubhouse that's in a treehouse and all have a nice sleepover together, and then
Boys
the
are
next
icky.
one it's like these people are getting beheaded and shot, and oh my god.
There's a scene where a character gets electrocuted, and it's the most horrifying scene I've seen in a game. It was freaky as hell. When And then you have a long scene of them watching TV and having a
Yeah.
sleepover. I'm like, what the hell is going on, gang?
Let's stand in this cave under the rain and have a heartfelt conversation about the nature of friendship. Oh, and here's a torture scene.
Oh,
Did Fuzztail have to leave or something?
she got quiet.
She apparently dropped.
Let me see what she said. Let me see. I think she said something in the chat. No, she
No,
hasn't
she
said
didn't.
anything.
That was much earlier.
Her call dropped.
Oh well.
Looks like her call dropped. Oh, that sucks. We were talking and we didn't notice that Fuzztail's call dropped.
I
I
noticed
hope,
it.
I hope that they know that. That's what I hope. I really hope the creators of the game know that criticism and see if they can fix it in a later game. Because I mean, like, this is a good game, and I feel like it would go to waste if the
This was all
writing,
there was.
if that's all there was. It would go to waste if they're just like a good game, but they'll just keep writing these terrible, terrible story modes and having people forced to fix classic mode to deal with it. But hey, I think overall they did a pretty good job. I'm pretty sure this is Galaxy's Trail first game. I think it is.
Yes.
But they are adding new DLC to it, by the way. 2 new characters who are in the game.
Along with the game is coming to the Wii U
Yeah.
and the PlayStation Store.
So we could always good to improve. They probably need to either the writer needs to take some creative
Hey
writing
there.
classes or something. Hey,
My computer
Fuzztail.
did that
Hey,
thing
Welcome back.
again where the RAM just exploded to 100% once again. I have no idea what's going on.
Fuzztail, we're talking about Freedom Planet.
You.
You got any more thoughts on
Eh.
Freedom Planet?
Yeah, what I think about Freedom Planet, what I think about Freedom Planet is that the game design, the level design is quite amazing because it really works well with the playstyle of each of the characters. And I tell you, each of the characters are extremely varied.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
talking about how the one thing that falls apart is the game's story.
Well, yeah, that is true. It is very much, I don't know how to call it, but it's sort of like Dragon Ball Z syndrome or something, where it just goes to ridiculous proportions, and yeah.
Yeah, I was saying that and I've already said it. I was saying that if this was a worse game, I'll probably be a lot harsher on the plot. I would have probably been tearing it a fucking new one. But it is what it is. I know some people who like that Saturday morning cartoon, Sonic Saturday AM storytelling cheesiness, where random darkness pops up out of nowhere to beat you in the skull. God.
It reminds you, life isn't perfect.
It's like, yay, flowers and daisies, and then the government comes.
The evil government.
And They
Okay, I
burn
think
all
I
the
see what
flowers.
May is going.
Hmm?
I think Skype RAM usage has risen to 323 megs, but it's Saluto.
We got two
Sorry.
sneezy people on here. But all right. With that discussion about Freedom Planet.
There is one thing I wanted to say with regards to Freedom Planet before we change subjects.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I forget which critic brought it up, but I thought it was very interesting that they said about Sonic was that every time that an attempt is made to make Sonic about speed, it fails. And that's because Sonic wasn't originally about speed. What Sonic was about was momentum. The idea
Yep.
was that you needed to navigate the level in a way that would preserve your momentum. And that's why they had the speed cap, right? Is because
Mhm.
the speed cap was your goal. You wanted to be moving at that speed cap at all times. And the
Mhm.
levels were designed so that if you played them correctly, you would keep your speed up. And if you took a suboptimal path, you would have to deal with finding ways of preserving and keeping your momentum. I think that one of the things that Freedom Planet did is by slowing it down even more, they made it even more about that. They made
Yeah.
it even more about finding the right way to get through things with the proper flow to the level instead of being about going as fast as you can.
And that's probably why Sonic falls apart. As much as as much as I love Sonic Generations, I hate to admit how much Sonic does fall apart when it comes to momentum in new Sonic games. But
Yep.
at the same time, I think what's charming about Sonic Generations is that it's more like the stages are built like race courses. So I think Sonic would have been a better game if it was in Sonic Generations case. I feel like that engine would have been perfect in a free running racing game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a feeling every time I play Sonic Generations, the first thought that comes to my head is, why isn't this multiplayer?
It would have been great as a new Sonic R.
Yeah, it's
Like
very
an actually properly done Sonic R.
the engine. The problem with the engine is that it's not built as a platforming game. It works best as a racing multiplayer game. I don't see why Sonic Team hasn't looked at the Hedgehog engine and were like, you know what? What if we added a 4-player racing mode and have you play different characters with different abilities and skills, maneuvering these sprawling, at least hopefully well-developed stages and such. I mean,
Your
it's not.
sound is going.
Yeah, somebody's doing that.
Someone is.
Kota.
Yeah.
Kota.
What?
But you're doing that. But it seems like something that would have worked.
Can someone put this in the chat? Because I was about to link to this when the whole system crashed again.
Okay, go ahead.
It's this. This is the user page of Woofle, the composer that did the music for Freedom Planet.
Okay. But yeah. On that subject, I don't even know why. Well, I guess you couldn't do it, but I would totally have taken the Sonic Generations engine and like modded a racing game out of it or something. It seems like that's an untapped market. That is an untapped market. Sonic R. There's another game that was like that called Running Wild on the PlayStation. Anyone ever play that? I'll have to look out for that after the podcast. But that is a good example of a kind of game you could get out of that. I mean, you know, all racing games don't have to be cars and carts. You can run on foot. And I feel like that would be a lot more fun and interesting if you had like a built course. Like, imagine City Escape.
How come no one does Rocket?
Yeah, imagine City Escape from Sonic Generations. Imagine that 4-player racing game.
Yeah.
Ain't it
just a
ain't it
cheaper
Sign Widers?
Huh?
Ain't it Sign Widers?
Yeah, it's Sonic
Sonic
Riders.
Riders? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean like
Well,
on
you know
foot.
what's even better?
Hmm?
You know what's even better? Sonic R.
Yeah.
Super Sonic Racing. Feet on the ground.
I
The game
remember
where
the
everyone
first.
feels the sunshine.
Yeah, I remember the first time I'd never played Sonic R before, but I got to one of the bonus levels in Sonic Generations where they played that song Was it Can You Feel the Sunshine,
Yeah,
or was it?
can
It was.
you feel-
Can you feel
Or
the
is it living
sunshine?
in the city?
Yeah.
Oh, there's nothing
It,
surviving
yeah,
in the city. And then
it was one of the
keep going,
remixes of a Sonic R song, is what it was. And I was just playing this level, and I was like, "What the heck am I listening to right now?"
Oh no, it was supersonic racing. Gotta keep your feet right off the ground.
I think it
You're
was that one.
supersonic
Yeah.
racing. I don't know why I
was
know these
introduced
songs.
to. I was introduced to Sonic R thanks to Sonic Gems Collection, which I mainly only bought simply because Sonic CD. That was the only way for me to get Sonic CD because, well, at the time they didn't sell it everywhere
Our next
on
topic.
every online store.
Our
that
next
was the cool
topic
thing
isn't
about
a
it.
topic because I think we already segued into it. Open floor discussion and addressing the chat. But
All right.
there's barely anyone at the chat to talk about anything.
Someone
Chat.
go to TweetDeck and chill the podcast.
God.
I did tweet it out at the beginning, and since we're near the end, let's see.
Well,
I
shit, we're already at
tweeted-
the end.
I mean, we don't really need to talk to the chat. We can ignore them. You can go fuck off somewhere.
What was it that I was gonna say with regards to Sonic? Oh yeah, Sonic CD actually had that interesting backstory, where
Yeah.
again they didn't have the game code for it when they wanted to make a modern update to it, so they actually ended up taking a fan's
Yeah.
fan rewrite of the engine,
Yes.
and
Yes.
Yeah, I know
They
something
just-
about Stealth's
they-
engine.
yeah, they found this big Sonic fan who made their own Sonic game engine, and they're like, "Hey, you want to work for Sega? You're hired."
Yeah.
And then they,
Oh, you mean
they
the
used it-
Sonic Worlds engine?
Yeah, that guy actually, that's not the Sonic Worlds engine. That's Stealth's personal fan engine.
Yes.
The guy, Stealth, has been trying to get Sega to remake Sonic 3 and Knuckles. He even went so far as to get Woofo to redo some of the songs that
Oh yes, I've heard about it.
were done by Michael Jackson. And he even was going so far as to I think when he was doing when he did Sonic 1, he wanted to add I think it was Sonic 1 and Sonic 2. He wanted to get Sega to allow him to release Sonic Mega Mix.
Uh-huh.
I actually know.
Oh my god.
Sonic.
Yeah. I know
Sonic
the
Mega
I know
Mix.
the original programmer to that. And that
So
programmer
Sonic
gave it to
Sonic
Sega.
Mega Mix is basically all of the Genesis Sonic games, right?
It's Sonic. It's actually a remake of Sonic 1, but it's
Oh.
using the Sonic. It's not using Sonic CD's engine. More so, it was Sonic 1's engine moved to Sonic CD. So it's not really in Sonic CD's engine, but it's actually an original game, but it's more like an expansion of Sonic 1 in some weird way with new characters and such and all that. And it was originally made by Tweaker, and it moved, and he gave the engine to Stealth. And Stealth, I guess Stealth owns it now. And he was trying to get it to the point where he could release it commercially. But he's still working on it. It's still being worked on. It's been worked on for years. It has been being worked on for years.
And it will still be worked on for years.
It's still being worked on, so that's awesome. I don't understand Sega when it comes to their old games, because they still haven't decided to allow him to do Sonic 3 and Knuckles. I mean, if his Sonic 1 and 2 have sold very well. If you know about Sonic 2 had new features like the Hidden Palette Zone and in the Touch. So imagine the 14 stage extravaganza of Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And he was even trying to build new cutscenes for Knuckles in the first stage of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, where he will move the original Knuckles opening to the beginning. And he was planning on adding new transitions for Knuckles if he had to. That would have been awesome.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, why can't these things happen? It's all legal. Legal things are so complicated.
Yeah, I hate legal things so much. But yeah. That just gave me an idea. That Sonic Generations racing game just gave me a weird idea now. I just wish I had the coding prowess, the team. One can dream.
Generations engine is actually moddable. It appears like didn't someone port the
Yeah.
the entirety of the Sonic stages from that one Sonic game into it?
Yeah, Sonic Unleashed. Yeah, you can do that.
Not that I know of.
So, could
Yeah,
it
you
be
can go and
modded into
download-
a 4-player racing game? We don't know.
The issue would be adding more players to that. Modding levels is a whole different level from modding actual engine features like that.
Yeah.
But I was just impressed that they're able to get all the Sonic levels from Unleashed into it, because that was that was an impressive endeavor.
I don't understand why there hasn't been that made yet. Platformers are very popular. Speed running is very popular. Why can't you fuse multiplayer racing games with the level design of a platformer? And I mean detailed, not race course, like legit level design of a platformer. 4-player racing with the goal of getting from one end to the other.
And
It
you hit
writes
each other.
itself. It writes itself.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Decide to look up mods for Sonic Generations. And the first mod on ModDB is Konoha Generations.
Oh.
Wait, what?
Oh my god, I love Klonoa. I love Klonoa.
Come on, link me.
Konoha
Link me.
Generations.
Link me. Come on, I want to see it.
I'm linking. There you go.
Oh, Christ. Klonoa Generations? This is actually
Yes.
real? Oh my god,
Yes.
it is real.
Oh god, now
Changed
you need to get Sonic
to
Generations.
Konoha.
It's just a character swap, unfortunately. It looks like.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. It's cool.
It's in Greek.
You're doing that thing again.
You're crinkling chips
Bye.
again.
Stop eating chips.
Well, I
Kodak.
can't help it.
Koda, you really need to fix your mic.
All right. Well, I think
This is a different mic
This
from
is
before,
roughly
yeah.
the end where we can wrap up. But anyone wanna? This is pretty much open discussion area where we could probably ram a topic, a last minute topic or anything, unless everybody's just like done. I'm spent on everything I want to talk about today.
Can
Well,
we
anyone
talk
else?
I
about
actually don't
that?
want this podcast to go
very-
on any longer though.
Koda. Oh my god, can someone... I can't even
Kota.
talk. This is like...
Kota, please.
Can we talk about that Furry Plus block list that has been going on?
Yes. Yes.
Oh man!
I can't
Oh,
believe
boy.
I forgot all about that.
Someone just
Oh
made
my-
a parody block list where they're just going around saying completely absurd reasons for blocking everyone. So I think that's the
Well-
best tactic we can employ is
Just mock
ridicule.
them. You know what? And what's even funny is that that none of us would have had paid attention. Most of us from Gamergate wouldn't have paid attention if they didn't add Gamergate as a reason to block people. Seriously.
Yep. That was so funny because I just happened to notice that. I was like, oh boy.
Man.
I don't think
Yeah,
people
and-
quite realize how much overlap there is. Because I know of
Yeah.
multiple groups where that are entirely furries that basically formed up because of GG, like entire chat groups and things like that. So there's a
think
lot of
we're one
overlap
of them.
there. Yeah.
And you know what's even funny is that the person initially, right, tried to make it as if they're doing it to make Twitter a safe space for furries, right? But later on, right, they admitted that they think that all furries are garbage.
Yep, I know. I just
And-
saw that.
And they have weird allegations on there too, like calling people rapists, even though they're just rumors. But I guess
and it
rumors
really
are
and
enough
it
to
really
get you on a block list.
Mm-hmm.
and it really like kind of puts into perspective since it is the same kind of pattern of behavior as the Randy Harper's GG block list.
Yep.
Yep, it's closer to the Atheism Plus one, but it's the same idea. The the concept is one of I think actually David Arbach put it best when he basically said in his article on the block lists that blocking a person is an individual decision. Like if I decide to block you, fine, I don't want to hear what you have to say. That's a personal decision. But if you're making a block list, that is a different thing because what you're doing is you're promoting social exclusion. You're saying that this person should be excluded from an entire social circle.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
Yeah.
that was in David Arbach's article, which is it's hilarious because David Arbach's article was extremely measured and very calm and very factual and very neutral, almost completely neutral. He basically said, these are the good things about block lists. These are the bad things about block lists. There you go. And he got C-level executives angry at him over that mild of an article. It cracked me up. He had two of them saying that they were two of them, two C-level executives, head of XOXO Fest and MakerBase, both were like, oh, they both told complete fabrications about Arbach. Arbach retaliated by calling them out on it, and then they both said, Arbach's bullying me. He's a journalist who writes in, where does he write? He writes in Slate. He doesn't have any power compared to these guys. And they were both like, oh, he's bullying me. Ugh, give me a break. Anyway, I just found that interesting because it's almost like this idea that social exclusion should be a tool has gone up that high, that it's acceptable to promote excluding certain people.
See,
No,
I
I
was
had to go
originally my
there for
original
one moment.
opinion. My original opinion of this was that I didn't really care. I didn't give a crap because it's just a furry thing. But then when you put it in that perspective, now I kind of care. I was ready
So,
to. I
what
was
all did I
already.
miss
I was
anyway?
already on my opinion of. I don't really care about this. This isn't a big deal. But now when you put that in that perspective, now I kind of care. Now I get why there's people who are upset by it because I'll be real with you. I didn't really get why people would be that annoyed by a block list. But I mean, yeah, you're right. A blocking is a personal choice. It's something you should do yourself. When you got a whole block list, you're right. You are like completely closing people out, so you can create some weird echo chamber. You're basically, I would say, you're not just I don't really care about the creator, but you're putting a lot of other people out of any interesting conversation, because it's kind of like it's running entirely on rumors too. It's running entirely on rumors. It's like this person is speculated to be a transphobe, so you shouldn't talk to them. And you're like, okay, I won't talk to this person I've never spoken to ever.
Yeah, and I should mention that just because someone said something racist once, or someone said something sexist once, or transphobic once, doesn't mean that that person is transphobic. It just means that they said something dumb on social media. And let's be honest here, everyone says something stupid on social media at one point in the past.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the
Well,
thing that
why
bothers
else
me.
why else would someone like Matt Binder actually have a job that just points that shit out just for people to get piled on by them?
Yeah.
In case if you don't know who the hell I'm talking about.
But
Random guy on the internet. His job is literally to
this is why I don't use
find
block
people's
lists.
stupid tweets and then have people laugh at them.
Because this is why I don't this is why I don't use blocklists. Because I mean, blocklists seem to be designed for something that I would or should be using, like assholes and trolls and shit and all that. But it's also someone else's opinion of these people. You're subscribing your thoughts to someone else's opinion of a particular individual based off of their speculation and not yours. And what's worse is you got rapists as one of the transgressions, as if you knew the person raped someone when it's based on a rumor. You're basically perpetuating
So
rumors.
It's basically an allegation.
Yeah.
It's an allegation.
You're perpetuating a rumor. That doesn't make any sense.
that's something else Arbok actually
It doesn't
said.
help
Is he
anyone.
said that one of the things that you do when you subscribe to a block list is that you legitimize the criteria that is used to select it. It's an endorsement of the selection process. And if you're subscribing to a block list that has a really dumb selection process, maybe you shouldn't do that because you're legitimizing the type of social exclusion that is presenting.
Yeah. It's kind of bothersome because it kind of seems like, and it's the weird attitude that comes from the blacklist that bothers me the most. Like, oh, well, no big company will bar them from the community. Do you want them to be barred from the community? Every person on
that's
that
actually-
blacklist deserves not to be part of the furry community now? Is that your attitude?
That's actually how Arbok noticed Randy Harper's various block lists. It was one of the open source conferences, OSCon or OSCon, I don't know how it's pronounced. He was trying to get tweets from the official OSCon account, and he was blocked by it because he's a tech reporter, and it's kind of important that you're able to get tweets from a tech conference. So if they start using blacklists like this at furry conventions, then that's a problem. That's somewhat of a bigger problem.
You're right. If I get plugged on that block list for some random tweet I did, and then a furry convention uses it, that means I'm never going to a furry convention. At first I wasn't.
Well, you wasn't planning
going
to go to one
before.
anyway, wasn't you?
I've never been to one, but now I will never go to one because I can't contact them unless I make an entirely new account.
Yeah. Didn't Anastasia make a video about the issues with mass block lists before?
I
don't know. I need to check I haven't checked their channel in a while.
Yeah, I don't think I remember anything about it, but now you gave me some good talking points to talk to somebody about it. But
here, I'm going to solve the problem of Twitter harassment completely. I'm going to state it on this channel. This is a public statement about it. That means no one can patent it. So, because there is a prior art, anyone is free to use this idea. So go right ahead and write it into your social media platforms. What you do is you give
copy it.
Yeah, sure. But this is more intended for people like whatever company's behind Twitter, whatever company is behind Facebook, whatever. Here's what you do. You give every single account their own database. In this database, you are allowed to classify tweets as being spam. You could do this in an automated process based off of who the user blocks already. And you will classify a certain number of tweets as being ham. In other words, legitimate tweets that they want to see. You could do this based off of what they fave. I would guess that the lexicon for what is considered to be a harassing tweet is narrow.
Exactly.
Yes. So, then what you do is you perform Bayesian, is that pronouncing it right? Statistical analysis, just a naive Bayesian filter on any tweet that they receive after that, and based off of their history of what they do and do not want to see and what they do and do not consider harassment, you decide whether to show it in their notifications or not. Or whether not to show it in the notifications. And maybe if you get it trained with a certain amount of confidence, you can actually just decide to block the user if they continue to tweet these tweets at you enough. There, I've solved the Twitter harassment problem, and I have not caused any damage to anyone's free speech, and I haven't caused any social exclusion.
Exactly.
Well, to be honest, right? It is really, it really isn't like the harassment on Twitter, it really isn't a problem, to be honest.
Well,
Because
the argument I usually hear to counter that is that harassment is a personal thing. So I was in a circumstance not so long ago where looked at my Twitter account and I had over 600 notifications, and I had 0 notifications a couple hours ago. If that type
Uh-huh.
of thing is something that bothers you, that would be very bothersome. But to me, that's just I was actually happy with that. I was like, wow, look at all these people who are happy and or angry at me. Let's go see what they're saying. uh, but if that is something that you consider to be harassment, then you're different than I am, and that means that any
Yeah.
solution to the problem, whether you consider it to exist or not, of Twitter harassment, has to be a personalized solution. It can't be a general solution.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really has to be a personalized solution. So that's why I think that ideas like Crash or right or anything similar to that vein, right, is not going to work, because they're trying to do a generalized approach by flogging the block list in order to so-called stop harassment. And all it does is just piss a lot of people off and add more to the mix of people being harassed. Because the people who are listed in that block list, right, are now open to being harassed by, social justice warriors.
Yeah.
Because let's make no mistake, right? There are plenty of social justice warriors who think that there's no bad tactics, just bad targets.
I feel so sorry for you every time I see someone quote that tweet. You must get notifications about that all the time because your handle's in there. Every time anyone quotes it, you get a little
Oh my
notification.
god! No, actually, I
Uh,
don't. I actually don't get notifications because they're now starting to use screenshots, which is even better.
Oh.
that, that is awful. That is an awful statement you can make.
I know,
You
and
couldn't.
it,
You couldn't get any more. You couldn't get any more. You couldn't be any more of an asshole.
It's a statement that basically is a way of saying that I personally follow a pure utilitarian model of ethics
uh-huh.
where the ends justify the means.
Yep.
And you could go into a huge philosophical conversation about why that's not a good idea. And that conversation has been going on for ages because
These
that's
people
not a
don't-
new concept.
These people don't care if you lose their job because they think you can just get another new job if they target your job. They don't care if a company uses the blacklist because, oh, well, maybe you just got to look elsewhere at a company that cares about your terrible, bigoted things you said. Except that's your opinion and not the whole company's opinion. But still, I guess, oh, well, make a new account.
Well, that's even what they said about David Arbach when he wrote his article. His very balanced article, which basically presented the pros and cons, is I forget if it was Dash or Bio. It was one of those C-level executives. What they accused him of was delegitimizing a tool used to prevent abuse. And
Delegitim-
Yeah.
yes,
you can't even
and that is
criticize it. That's the fucked up part about it.
that is another argument from utilitarianism. They're saying that for the greater good, he has no right to complain about how it's personally affected him because for the greater good, he shouldn't be doing that.
Yep. If you're on that blacklist, you're a bigot. Doesn't matter what you did. You are a
The
bigot.
ethereal cash
period.
using the blacklist for the
You
greater
have
good.
you have to ask to appeal and then beg for your Lord and Savior, feminism, to come down and wash your evil, violent ideals from your mind.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
purge the
I
evil,
I need
toxic
to-
masculinity from your body.
and Jesus served Christian.
Jesus seeks
Um,
Christian.
And her first and loyal follower, Judith McIntosh.
Oh. Well, I think we've gotten enough out of that conversation. I think we said our piece. And I guess I will end. I guess it's time to end this sucker. End this sucker.
Alright.
But
Any other topics before then?
no,
anyone
no,
else?
I think we're
Richard?
through here. I think we're through here. If you want a new topic, save it for the next week.
Yep.
Now then, I guess QQ, where can people find you?
They can find me on Twitter at the QQ, and QQ is spelled QUQU. No spaces on Twitter. Or they can find me on YouTube if they were to search for QQ, which is again QUQU, but this time with a space. If you don't put a space, if you leave the space out on YouTube, you will find some very bizarre videos that have nothing to do with me.
Fuzztail, I guess where people can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at Lady Fuzztail. I'm also on Weasel at Lady Fuzztail, and on Tumblr using the same name at Lady Fuzztail.
Lady Fuzztail, all one word. Kota.
Yeah.
Where can people find me?
Yeah.
Even though I am not a creator or anything like that, they can find me on Twitter at Kota Maku. That's KOTAMAKU 10.
And then he can and he'll post nudes for you. And y'all know me. Y'all know this is my YouTube channel. Y'all know where to find me. Y'all. Anywhere you Google Grass Gremlin, you can find me.
Maybe they might have been linked by someone here, and they don't know you. Why don't you tell them where they can find you still?
Oh well. I got an Ink Bunny account. I drew the image in the background. It's a temporary image. I got an Ink Bunny account. That's Grass Gremlin, all one word. I have a F for Affinity account, which is Freedom-Frequency. You can find my art there. My
Freedom
Tumblr
Frequency.
is Grass Gremlin Blog, all one word. And that's pretty much it. You can find me in the places. You can find me in the streets. In the club. You can find me in the club. Professor Q, I know you talk very little, but tell us, where can they find you? Professor Q.
Well, good sir, they can find me on Twitter called Professor Q. On YouTube, you can find me at the same time as Professor Q. And you want look at my art, Ink Bunny called Professor Z.
Yep, Professor Q
Because
is here to
he's
sub
gotta
for
be
Fuzztail,
special.
but we didn't know Fuzztail was going to be here, so she popped in. And Professor Q was along for the ride. He showed his enthusiasm for Star Fox Adventures, which is going to be awesome. And that is a wrap. All right, people, that is a wrap. Let me designate the wrap right now. Hippity hop, shoobity doop, ba da ba doop, bop boobity doop, dee ba doop ba doop, da doo dee doop boop ba doop, shoobity ba doop ba doo ba doo, mini bidi ba doop, ba da ba boop, ba da bidi bidi ba doop, doo 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 doo, ba dee doo da da ba ba dee doo ba dee doo ba dee doo ba da.